Chapter 1607. In a tragic place outside the La Dong. It was as if a Tao bell had rung in the dark. Qin Nan's body was like an enormous abyss. It unleashed a shocking absorption force and absorbed the energy of the remaining golden clouds in the distance. In just 3 breaths, he had absorbed all the energy. Every bone in his body began to evolve. The purple runes on his body suddenly emitted wisps of Tao glow. Tao runes? Qin Nan was astounded. Everyone knew that only those who achieved the Tao realm could control the Tao glow and execute the Tao runes. Even though he had achieved the greater success stage of the Tao realm, he could not make his body possess the Tao runes. Hang on, these Tao runes contain the will of the divine god of battle. They belong to the divine god of battle. Qin Nan's heart shuddered when he realized the reason behind it. He had merged with the flesh of the divine god of battle. His body had evolved significantly. Previously, when he was practicing the true scriptures of Sky Taihuang, he was hindered by the will of the divine god of battle. Now that the Tao runes of the divine god of battle had appeared, didn't that mean the divine god of battle had left him with the Tao runes of the divine god of battle? The Tao of the divine god of battle? There's a 90% chance. Qin Nan took a deep breath. His eyes flickered with golden flames. If his speculation was right, it would be great news for him. Even though the different Taos were not categorized into different levels and each had their own merits and mysteries, how could the Tao of the divine god of battle not be stronger than normal Taos? Qin Nan calmed his thoughts. It was still too early to be excited. Forget it, I should test out my flesh first. A thought crossed Qin Nan's mind. He immediately threw a punch forward. A formidable force burst forward and shattered the clouds in the distance. However, the moment he threw the punch, the Tao runes of the divine god of battle in his body seemed to be sealed, preventing them from unleashing their power. His punch was equivalent to the strength of a 4th-layer heaven god. I'm afraid I'll have to wait until I ascend as an immortal. Qin Nan came to a realization and subconsciously clenched his fist. In the process of cultivation, there would be many tribulations and obstacles. The immortal ascension was his biggest obstacle. Buzz. Meanwhile, the ownerless heaven pattern in Qin Nan's divine sense shuddered again. What happened? Qin Nan was slightly taken aback. He closed his eyes and sensed for a moment. After a while, he looked at the edge of the clouds, his eyes full of doubt. A mysterious object was summoning the ownerless heaven pattern ahead? Something that can summon the ownerless heaven pattern must be extraordinary. Just now, Senior Fu Xing warned me not to wander around. I'm well aware of that. The thought crossed Qin Nan's mind. He rose to his feet and activated his battle eyes before he could finish the thought. He proceeded forward with his god force and activated his battle eyes. If he were to be overly cautious, he would definitely not be able to obtain a great fortune. The entire cloud layer was very peaceful, and the aura was very calm. However, Qin Nan did not dare to be negligent. Every step he took was very cautious. I'm almost at the end. Half an hour later, Qin Nan looked ahead and let out a relieved sigh. Walking that path just now had consumed more of his mental strength than fighting several cultivators of the same level as him. He continued to walk forward. However, when he stepped onto the last cloud, an unexpected change took place. The entire cloud disappeared like an illusion. A falling force came from his feet. Just as he was about to circulate his divine power to stabilize his body, a big hand seemed to reach out from nowhere and suddenly grabbed his body and pulled him down. Bang! Before Qin Nan could hear the rapid whistling sound, he felt his body crashing into something solid. The great impact caused him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Will of destruction. Qin Nan endured the pain and immediately executed an art. However, he did not encounter any danger when he collected his thoughts. It seems like I'm safe for now, a thought crossed Qin Nan's mind. He raised his head and scanned his surroundings. His eyes widened following a glimpse. He was standing on a dark red dojo. The dojo was not huge, covering an area with a circumference of 1,000 zhang. It was broken into pieces. Almost every piece had 3 to 4 skeletons on it. Even after 10,000 years, they were still emitting an icy aura that would make one's heart skip a beat. Beside the skeletons lay a palm-sized, perfectly round, lusterless crystal. Even after 10,000 years, Qin Nan could still see that the crystal was blue in color. He could also sense a faint Dao intent from it. The crystal was a Dao crystal that only those in the greater success stage of the Dao realm could refine. There are Dao crystals beside the 4 skeletons. What kind of cultivation and status did they have when they were alive? Besides, if they were able to take part in the battle between those with Dao crystals, the other skeletons, Qin Nan felt a great chill running down his spine. His hair stood on end. What kind of terrifying battle had taken place on this tiny dojo? This is a place of misery outside the law. A hoarse voice suddenly appeared. Qin Nan was startled. He turned around and glanced at the source of the voice. It took him a few moments to discover that it was a rock that was talking. The rock was 3 zhang tall. It stood at the end of the dojo. Its surface was covered in countless sword marks. It was dark red in color, which was difficult to notice without taking a closer look. A place of misery outside the law. What do you mean by a place of misery outside the law? Who are you? Did you summon me here? Qin Nan's figure tensed as he asked 4 questions in a row. I'm not mistaken. I'm not mistaken. You have the aura of the immortals. The strange rock's voice suddenly became excited. Haha, the aura of the immortals. It burst out laughing as a tremendous immortal glow burst out of its body. It disappeared into the distance at a shocking pace. Qin Nan was startled. Where did this strange rock come from? How did it know he had the aura of the divine god of battle? It left too quickly. Otherwise, I could have asked it what the immortals are. Qin Nan collected his thoughts and shook his head. He glanced at the dim Dao crystals with the corner of his eyes. Is it possible to refine them? Qin Nan was about to make his move when the thought crossed his mind. The Dao crystal was no ordinary object. Even among the cultivators in the 9 heavens immortal realm, only a few were able to refine it. Bang! At that instant, a powerful glow came from the distance. A skeleton that had already lost its head, an arm, and a leg suddenly stood up from the ground. It held a decaying broadsword in its hand out of nowhere. Kill! A shocking murderous intent locked onto Qin Nan. Chapter 1608. The Skeleton with the 4 Extremities, Destruction Fist. Qin Nan immediately reacted and threw a punch forward, emitting a black glow. The skeleton's reaction was extremely fast. With a tap of its foot, the mystical prince spread out, and its figure appeared on the other side, avoiding this punch. Such a powerful skeleton! Its god force is only equivalent to the second-layer heaven god realm after 10,000 years, yet it was able to dodge my punch with ease. It's very likely that it has mastered the 4 extremities when it was still alive. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. Saber shadows of the troubled times. The skeleton made its move once again. The saber left its hand and unleashed over 100,000 saber intents lingering in the air. It felt like the will of the spring and autumn period and the chaos of the world. It was obvious that the skeleton was a powerful saber cultivator when it was still alive. Its understanding and mastery of saber intents had reached an unbelievable level. Unstoppable step. Qin Nan felt a chill running down his spine. He did not face the attack head-on. He dodged the attack by turning into rays of light. Slash. A few moments later, Qin Nan's eyes emitted a golden glow. He unleashed his eye technique to lock onto the skeleton. His figure suddenly appeared behind the skeleton and slashed out with his saber. The will of the sky-desolating realm poured down. Roar! The skeleton let out a roar. The saber intents rapidly encapsulated its body, as if they were alive, forming an armor made of saber intents. Bang bang bang! Following a series of explosions, the skeleton was knocked back. However, it did not suffer any damage as the saber intents managed to block the attack. Qin Nan immediately took hold of the opportunity. His right arm transformed into the heaven-shattering saber as he unleashed his strongest slash. Whoosh! In the nick of time, Qin Nan's eyes widened. A giant hand of a skeleton penetrated the layers of saber intents and grabbed at him. Destruction Battle Fist. Qin Nan made up his mind and threw another punch. Bang! A strong gust of wind swept across the dojo. Qin Nan felt a great pressure on his chest as he was knocked back by a strong impact. On the other hand, the skeleton only trembled and did not show any reaction. After putting on the armor, the influence of force and spells on it is reduced to a very small level. If that's the case, Qin Nan's eyes glittered. His entire body was bathed in a Dao glow as he activated the Dao crystal. Fourth strike of the war god, annihilation upon space. He slashed at the rift with the heaven-shattering saber. The skeleton sensed the shocking danger and retreated abruptly. However, it still could not avoid the attack. Countless saber wills exploded on its body, cutting countless cracks in its armor. Roar! The skeleton seemed to be infuriated. It let out a shocking roar as the godly glow on its body became even more dazzling. It even had a hint of immortal intent. 10,000 years ago, it was an Earth immortal expert. Bang bang bang! An astonishing battle unfolded on the training ground. Facing this mysterious and powerful skeleton, Qin Nan unleashed 70% of his battle strength, and the battle blood in his body surged. However, Qin Nan did not fully immerse himself in the battle. A part of his focus was still observing the training ground. A skeleton had appeared after the strange rock flew away. Was it possible that the strange rock was a seal that had sealed everything here? If his speculation was right, it was highly possible that more skeletons would awaken. Here's my chance. After 1,000 breaths, Qin Nan's battle intent skyrocketed. He leapt above the skeleton like a godly dragon and resisted the attacks of the saber intents with brute force with his flesh. The heaven-shattering saber in his hand slashed at the skeleton's head. Kill! The skeleton knelt on the ground and dropped its saber. It uttered a deep roar before its voice gradually faded away as its body began to shatter into pieces. At that instant, the space above began to tremble vigorously as a crimson glow entered Qin Nan's body at lightning speed. Following it, the murderous intent emitting from Qin Nan's body grew stronger once again. If one were to take a closer look, they would discover a faint crimson glow within 3 zhang from him. It was the seal of the heavens and earth, something that would only appear after killing a peerless genius. It's indeed a peerless genius, but it's already dead. Why would the seal of the heavens and earth still appear after I've killed it? Qin Nan wore a confused look. Meanwhile, the rare phenomenon had yet to come to an end. Several crimson glows emerged from the shattered training ground and entered his body like giant snake. His physical body was strengthened imperceptibly, and the divine power in his body was growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Qin Nan was astounded. Why would he receive any benefits after slaying a skeleton? Besides, the crimson glow was nothing ordinary. It had significantly improved his god force in just a few breaths' time. If he slayed another skeleton with the 4 extremities, he would be able to rank up to the 6th layer heaven god realm. Kill. Suddenly, 5 skeletons rose to their feet with strong murderous auras. They grabbed different weapons and executed a series of immortal arts at Qin Nan. 5 skeletons with the 4 extremities? No, their god glows are stronger than the skeleton just then, but their auras and will have yet to reach the 4 extremities. The thought crossed Qin Nan's mind. He made his move and destroyed one of the skeletons with a single move. The seal of the heavens and earth did not appear again, but the crimson glow appeared again. However, it was a lot weaker than when he slayed the skeleton with the 4 extremities. This land of misery is a great place for me to train myself. Qin Nan was overjoyed. After the 2 battles, he was confident that the skeletons only had the god force of the heaven god realm left. Even if a few of the skeletons were slightly stronger, they were only in the human immortal realm. He could easily handle the skeletons with his current cultivation and the capabilities he had. It would be best if a few more skeletons with the 4 extremities showed up. Not only would he be able to have a good fight with them, his cultivation would improve significantly too. Kill! As the thought crossed his mind, 2 more roars took place. 2 shocking attacks came at him from behind. His hair immediately stood on its end. 2 skeletons with the 4 extremities had shown up. Great timing. Qin Nan uttered a groan as he knocked the 4 skeletons back with a single punch. He then soared into the air like a giant pring spreading its wings, before unleashing a torrential rain of saber intents without turning his head around. Bang bang bang! A shocking battle took place once again. However, little did Qin Nan know, an immortal glow suddenly flickered in the darkness a few thousand li away from the dojo. A pair of illusionary eyes slowly appeared in the darkness. Its powerful eye technique peered ahead and landed on the dojo. Chapter 1609. The Immortal Ascension Tide. Time gradually passed. A month was gone fairly quickly. During this month, a few major events took place in the 9 heavens immortal realm. The immortal ancient 9 melodies departing river in the Zuanpingshan small immortal realm had fully opened, attracting countless cultivators to it. Many heaven gods in the Shangxingshan small immortal realm had gone there too. Following it, the Dragon Immortal Dojo and the Crimson Moon Water City in the Shangxingshan small immortal realm that were labeled as immortal ancient places showed signs of activity. In the 33 heavens small immortal realms, the mundane realms that were labeled as immortal ancient places showed signs of activity too. In simple words, including the Demon Ruler Mountain that showed signs of activity, there were 5 immortal ancient places that were going to show up within a year. 1 immortal ancient place has already shown up. 4 immortal ancient places are going to show up soon. A new round of opportunities to ascend as an immortal has arrived. Spread the word. Every heaven god is to go into seclusion. If you miss this chance, you'll have to wait for at least 20 years. I failed to ascend as an immortal last time. I must succeed this time. Many cultivators have gathered at the 9 melodies departing river in the Zuanpingshan small immortal realm. I should head to the Shangxingshan small immortal realm and wait. The Demon Ruler Mountain is the most suitable place for me. As such, the 13 supreme Taoism factions, hundreds of factions led by peerless rulers, and countless martial clans in the 9 heavens immortal realm began to spread the order. Many rogue cultivators in the heaven god realm went deep into the forbidden grounds to make the final preparations before the battle. In addition to it, since 3 immortal ancient places were about to show up in the Shangxingshan small immortal realm, the cultivators and factions in the other small immortal realms began to make their way to the Shangxingshan small immortal realm too. Only 5 immortal ancient places will show up in the Immortal Ascension Tide this time. It's not enough for me to ascend as an immortal. I guess I'll have to wait a little longer. Meanwhile, some extraordinary existences shook their heads. Similar to Qin Nan, a few immortal ancient places were not enough for them to ascend as an immortal. They needed something bigger. Meanwhile, in a mysterious place in the Shangxingshan small immortal realm, Empress Feiyue was wearing a white dress. Her black stockings reached her shoulders. Her icy eyes emitted a shocking glow as she stared into the distance. These 3 immortal kings even brought Qin Nan to that place. She thought to herself. Then, she extended her jade-like fingers and pointed at the void, drawing lines of Tao runes. It is time to help him awaken the other immortal ancient places. 100,000 runes instantly spread out beneath her, intertwining to form an ancient formation. countless Tao glows flickered in the middle of the formation as an ancient book made of the hide of some kind of beast slowly appeared. At the same time, in the supreme abode of immortals, a wretched place outside the law, the sounds of intense collisions were like a series of continuous explosions of heavenly thunder. During this entire month, Qin Nan had been constantly fighting with the skeletons. He had defeated a total of 4 level 4 skeletons and hundreds of other skeletons. His entire body was now emitting an extremely shocking murderous aura. The dark red color within a radius of 3 zhang could already be seen with the naked eye. On top of that, his god force had also reached the 7th layer heaven god realm. Bang! A godly glow containing 13 different immortal intents fired at Qin Nan at a shocking pace. Qin Nan was already aware of it. He quickly moved to the side. To his surprise, the godly glow missed its target and landed squarely on his chest, leaving a bloody hole the size of a fist. He groaned in pain. Forbidden taboo flesh. Qin Nan repaired his flesh with a thought. He took 100 steps back and stared ahead with his fiery golden eyes. There were 13 skeletons in front of him. One of the skeletons was the owner of a Tao crystal. 2 of the skeletons had mastered the 4 extremities, while the rest of the skeletons were emitting the god force of the peak heaven god realm. It was the strongest formation he had encountered in the past month. The battle had lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, yet the outcome of the battle was still undecided. I'll take out this skeleton with the Tao crystal first. Qin Nan's aura skyrocketed. The heaven-shattering saber left his hand and slashed at one of the skeletons with the 4 extremities. Roar! 10 skeletons in the peak heaven god realm immediately lunged forward and executed a series of immortal arts to force the heaven-shattering saber back. Death upon the area! Qin Nan flicked his finger. 2 wisps of formidable saber intents immediately encapsulated 2 skeletons with the 4 extremities. The skeleton with the Tao crystal ignored the attack. It waved its hand, summoning the 10 skeletons in the peak heaven god realm to surround Qin Nan. Unstoppable step, destruction battle fist. Qin Nan let out a roar. He summoned many figures and threw a series of punches at the skeletons. After fighting for such a long time, his battle intent had reached its limit. His strength had reached its limit too. Even 10 skeletons in the heaven god realm would be suppressed by him in a direct confrontation. Shadowy illusionary immortal art. Qin Nan turned into an afterimage and appeared in front of the skeleton with the Tao crystal. His hand formed a seal and slammed on its forehead. The illusory heroic spirit rose from the ground and remained motionless. The heaven-shattering saber slashed at one of the skeletons with the 4 extremities as if it was being summoned. White flying spirit saber art. The skeleton with the Tao crystal quickly backed away, as if it realized it had been tricked. Its body emitted a Tao glow as it tried to eliminate the spirit. The other 2 skeletons with the 4 extremities charged forward and flanked Qin Nan. It's over. Qin Nan groaned. He vanished into thin air and reappeared above the skeleton with the Tao crystal. The spirit behind it picked up the heaven-shattering saber and slashed forward. Qin Nan used his left hand as a saber and slashed at the skeleton too. Bang! Even though the skeleton with the Tao crystal was quite extraordinary, it could not resist the 2 attacks at all. It shattered into pieces following a blast. The seal of the heavens and earth landed on Qin Nan's body once again. Wisps of magnificent crimson glow entered the god force in his body at a shocking pace. Whoosh! At that instant, 2 icy murderous intents approached Qin Nan's back. I'll rank up to the 8th layer heaven god realm first. Qin Nan stopped suppressing his god force without hesitation. His aura skyrocketed once again. The god glow he was emitting was blinding. It was his plan. Even though the skeleton with the Tao crystal was not the strongest, it would give him the most benefits. He could break through after killing it. That way, he would be able to kill the 10 peak heaven gods and the 2 skeletons with the 4 extremities. After all, these skeletons were once experts when they were still alive. They still had the instinct to fight. If Qin Nan's god force was too weak compared to theirs, he would not stand a chance against them. You've been suppressing me for 3 days, it's my turn now. Qin Nan's blood hair drifted in the wind. The crimson golden armor he was wearing was emitting a crimson glow too, perhaps due to the seal of the heavens and earth. He looked like a peerless god of slaughter. Chapter 16:10. 10 Immortal Ancient Places. A day later, the battle came to an end. 2 skeletons with the 4 extremities and 10 peak heaven gods had been slain by Qin Nan. Meanwhile, 2 seals of the heavens and earth were inserted into Qin Nan's body. The crimson-red glow immediately expanded to cover an area with a circumference of 15 zhang. From afar, it felt like a peerless death zone was being born. Without being exaggerating, even a peerless genius would be intimidated by his aura. Did the copper mirror send me a message? Qin Nan took a quick glance. He let out a relieved sigh after some time. 5 immortal ancient places had shown up, and the copper mirror was already making her move. She was asking him to be prepared. Time to cultivate in seclusion again. He made up his mind. He stuck the heaven-shattering saber in front of him and closed his eyes. Time gradually passed. 4 days later, a shocking incident took place in the 9 Heavens immortal realm. In the Zuanpingshan small immortal realm, the Tainan Mountain, the legendary ancient city, and the misty realm that were known as immortal ancient places began to react. Most shockingly, in the Shangxingshan small immortal realm, the 100 deities immortal sealing path, the world of yin and yang, the fantasy sky court, the sea of the fallen immortals, the land of immortal death, the 9 dragon mystical realm, and the moon sky tower began to react. The 2 added up to 10 immortal ancient places. Including the ones from before, there were 15 immortal ancient places. I wonder which 9 Heavens Supreme is trying to open 10 immortal ancient places with brute force. The authorities and the peerless rulers in the small immortal realms immediately realized something was wrong. Normally, even though 15 immortal ancient places would show up at once, they were relatively scattered across the place. It was unlikely that most of them would gather at the same place. Well, it's still a great opportunity. The authorities and the peerless rulers did not hesitate. They quickly transmitted their thoughts and changed their mind. In addition to them, the small immortal realms were immersed in an uproar too. Ha ha ha, 15 immortal ancient places, that means the chance of ascending as an immortal is 70% higher. The heavens didn't let me down. Let's head to the Shangxingshan small immortal realm at once. There are 10 immortal ancient places there. Very good. Now, quickly send people to investigate which powers are targeting which immortal ancient. We will choose the weakest among them and head over. Sigh, why didn't so many immortal ancient appear back then? Even though I'm only an earth god, I can't miss out on this opportunity. More cultivators were making their way to the Shangxingshan small immortal realm, including some earth god realm cultivators and some human god realm cultivators. The immortal ascension was the only grand occasion in the 9 Heavens immortal realm. Even a battle in a small immortal realm, or a cultivator who had achieved the 9 Heavens supremacy realm, was not enough to attract so many cultivators. 15 immortal ancients appearing at the same time? Doesn't that mean he has a chance to become the strongest immortal? Meanwhile, the eyes of some extraordinary existences in the supreme Taoism factions led by peerless rulers, and ancient successions flickered with astonishment. 5,000 years ago, when the Empress was born, there was no longer the number 1 immortal in the world. It had been more than 5,000 years since Empress Feiyue was born, yet no one was considered the strongest immortal. In the previous dozens of grand occasions, there had been outstanding peerless geniuses who had tried to break through, but they had all failed. Some of the geniuses did not have the chance either. In comparison, they were quite lucky. At least they still had a chance. Qin Nan in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm, Qiu Hong, Su Xianji, Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao, the peerless geniuses Zi Hu, Sword God Wu Heng, Ding Tianqi, and the others uttered the name simultaneously. Some people were waiting and looking forward to it, while others were secretly gritting their teeth, their faces filled with killing intent, or they were filled with curiosity. Meanwhile, in an elder's palace in the Heaven Illusionary Ancestor sect, Long Xuanling's eyes sprang open. His formidable aura caused the entire hall to tremble vigorously. His cultivation had improved tremendously over the past month. He had reached the peak Earth God realm, and was only a step away from the Heaven Immortal realm. Meanwhile, his status in the Heaven Illusionary Ancestor sect had reached a very high level too. His status was only second to the core disciples who were known as monsters. That Qin Nan has the flesh of bad fortune, yet he's still being protected by the 3 immortal emperors? Long Xianling glanced at the 2 cultivators kneeling before him and asked calmly. As a matter of fact, he was already aware of the news. He only repeated it to reprimand the 2 cultivators. Yes, yes. The 2 cultivators wiped the sweat on their foreheads and said, Elder Long, with the 15 immortal ancient places showing up, Qin Nan is surely going to take part in it. It's our chance. Long Xianling closed his eyes. A moment later, he said calmly, I have 2 tasks for you. First, ask some heaven gods to pick on him in the immortal ancient places. Second, ask the 5 core disciples to come here. Even though Qin Nan's cultivation was nowhere enough to pose any threat to him, the strength that Qin Nan had displayed was enough to make him feel threatened. He had to use all he had to nip the danger in the bud. Meanwhile, in the only palace on the first floor of the 10,000 Zhang Heaven Realm, when the news about the 15 immortal ancient places spread, the Supreme Elders, core disciples, and the others had all made their way to the palace. The South World Immortal Emperor had sent his will too. It's settled then. The elders will lead the teams and escort them to the 3 immortal ancient places. The South World Immortal Emperor said calmly, By the way, Ding Tianqi and Zhao Lijian, if you stumble into Qin Nan, use your full strength. Ding Tianqi and Zhao Lijian nodded simultaneously. The South World Immortal Emperor glanced at Master Wooding and said, The kid is our enemy in the blue light. We can't let him grow any further. Make the necessary arrangements and try your best to kill him in the immortal ancient places. After saying this, his figure slowly dissipated. Meanwhile, in the Supreme Cave abode, the place outside the law, Qin Nan was completely unaware of the turbulent situation outside. His mind was completely immersed in his cultivation as he carefully sensed the changes in his divine power. 5 hours later, his eyes sprang open all of a sudden. His aura skyrocketed. It broke through the limit of the 9th layer Heaven God realm and reached the 10th layer Heaven God realm within the blink of an eye. Finally, I've reached the 10th layer Heaven God realm. Qin Nan let out a relieved sigh. His gaze briefly scanned the black saber in the Sumer ring before fixing on the crystal in his divine sense. Princess Bailan, it won't take long for you to see the light of day again. Qin Nan murmured. His gaze sharpened all of a sudden. Chapter 16:11. Land of Immortal Death, Copper Mirror, which immortal ancient place should I go to? Qin Nan soon calmed his thoughts and transmitted his thought. He had just learned about the situation through the 10,000 Dao Immortal Badge. Currently, 15 immortal ancient places had shown up, but only the 9 melodies departing river in the Zuanpingshan small immortal realm had opened up. The remaining 14 immortal ancient places were still awakened. He would not go to the 9 melodies departing river. After all, there were 10 immortal ancient places in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm. Based on his experience of achieving the martial monarch realm and martial god realm, it was unlikely he could ascend as an immortal with just 1 immortal ancient place. He would have to visit a second or even a third immortal ancient place. Staying in the Shangxingtian's small immortal realm was the best choice. Go to the land of immortal death first, it will open soon. An icy voice came from the red string. Got it. Qin Nan nodded. He transmitted his thoughts to Qiu Hong, the Blood-Eye Heaven God, and the three immortal emperors before leaving the supreme cave abode the same way he came. The land of immortal death was located in the north of the Shangxingtian small immortal realm. According to some ancient records, a great conspiracy had once taken place here. It had killed a few thousand immortals, resulting in a great uproar. It had shown up many times during the tide of ascension in the past. Every time it showed up, many cultivators would die in it. It was a lot more dangerous than the other immortal ancient places. Qin Nan finally arrived at the place after 2 days. In front of him was a vast yellow grassland, covered by a blood-red mist with no end in sight. The fog was slowly dispersing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The terrifying aura that was emitted from the fog made people doubt that if they tried to force their way in, they would definitely be killed. I'll wait in the city first. Qin Nan entered a magnificent ancient city with a flicker. Every immortal ancient place had 1 or 2 ancient cities around it. The supreme Taoism factions and the factions led by peerless rulers had come to an agreement. Either way, they were not allowed to attack anyone in the city. The 9 Heavens Golden Immortal Palace, one of the 13 supreme Taoism factions, we guarantee our reputation. The bets are open. How many people are there in the land of immortal death? Becoming rich overnight, not just a legend, it's right in front of you. Qin Nan had just stepped into the city when he heard a series of shouts. He turned around and saw cultivators in immortal robes with extraordinary auras trying their best to attract customers. Qin Nan's mouth twitched. He had read on the 10,000 Dao Immortal Badge that the Patriarch of the 9 Heavens Golden Immortal Palace, one of the 13 supreme Taoism factions, loved to gamble. Every time there was an immortal ascension tide, or when there was a cultivator who wanted to become a supremacy, or when there was a major event, the palace master would send his disciples over to set up a bet. He used to think that it was fake, but he didn't expect it to be real. Qin Nan shook his head and scanned the area with his golden eyes of the divine god of battle. So many cultivators? Qin Nan was astonished. At this moment, there were already thousands of cultivators in the city. Most of them were in the heavenly god realm. Comparatively speaking, there were far fewer earth gods and human gods. Besides, when the land of immortal death opens, how many cultivators will come? On top of that, there were many human immortals and earth immortals in the city. There was only one explanation for the presence of such experts. They were here to escort the exceptional geniuses of their factions. Brother Nan, I can't make it this time. The Sky Taihuang sect has set their eyes on the Demon Ruler Mountain, the Dragon Immortal Dojo, and the Lunar Sky Tower. It's the Supreme Elder's order. You can't disobey it. Many people are keeping an eye on you. Be careful. Qiu Hong transmitted his voice to Qin Nan. Qin Nan pondered after taking a quick glance. Did that mean the 13 supreme Taoism factions were heading to different immortal ancient places with specific goals in mind? Was it the same for the factions led by peerless rulers? Friend Qin Nan, are you thinking about becoming the strongest immortal? A pleasant voice suddenly appeared beside his ear. He turned around and saw Su Xianji in a fairy dress looking at him with a smile. Cultivator Xianji? Is the Sanqing ancient sect planning to enter the land of immortal death? Qin Nan was startled. Yeah, Master asked me to come here, so I'm here. I didn't expect to stumble into you here. It seems like fate has brought us together. Su Xianji said mischievously. Cough cough. Qin Nan was lost for words. He quickly switched the topic. What's the strongest immortal you mentioned? You don't know? Su Xianji was surprised. She soon recalled Qin Nan's identity as an ascendant. She giggled. The strongest immortal is an ancient tradition in the 9 Heavens immortal realm. Whenever more than 10 immortal ancient places appear, The supreme Taoism factions in the small immortal realm with the most immortal ancient places will have to offer great benefits to hold a duel. Those who defeat more than half of their opponents will be referred to as the strongest immortal. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. He did not expect such a thing to happen. Tong. Empress Feiyue was the strongest immortal 5,000 years ago? Qin Nan asked. Su Xianji's eyes flickered with admiration. 5,000 years ago, Empress Feiyue appeared out of nowhere and defeated all her opponents in the final duel. It shook the 9 heavens. As such, even though some peerless geniuses managed to defeat more than half of their opponents in the subsequent duels, none of them dared to claim to be the strongest immortal in front of Empress Feiyue. 5,000 years ago, when the Empress Feiyue appeared, there was no strongest immortal in the world. Qin Nan nodded. It was reasonable for Empress Feiyue to defeat all her opponents in the same realm with the art of 3 lifetimes. This time, our Shangxingtian's small immortal realm has the most immortal ancient places. The 3 supreme Taoism factions are already preparing for the duel. Su Xianji's eyes glittered as she said, "Friend Qin Nan, if you're interested, you can take a look at the Immortal Badge of Ascension and learn the conditions for participating in the duel." Qin Nan immediately brought his fists together. "Cultivator Xianji, thank you for telling me." He was looking forward to the duel. How imperious would it be to be the strongest immortal in the 9 heavens immortal realm? "Friend Qin Nan, there's no need to be so courteous with me. Once we enter the land of immortal death, I'll need your help to take care of me," Su Xianji said softly. "There are still a few days until it's activated. Why don't we find a place to stay?" Qin Nan did not reject the suggestion. The 2 proceeded forward. However, unbeknownst to them, there were a few cultivators who suddenly stopped in their tracks on the busy street. "The god of misfortune, Qin Nan, has arrived at the land of immortal death." "Young master, Qin Nan and Su Xianji have both arrived at the land of immortal death. The targets have arrived at the land of immortal death." They secretly transmitted their thoughts to the badges. Chapter 1612. Ancient Bodhi Temple. Some time later, in a room in the Nameless Inn, Qin Nan learned everything after reading the Immortal Badge of Ascension. On the surface, the final battle was organized by the 3 supreme Taoism factions, but the Sky Taihuang sect was in charge of it. Those who wanted to take part in the battle had to fulfill 2 conditions. Firstly, each immortal ancient land had a rare artifact that was unique to them. Secondly, they had to ascend as an immortal after the 15 immortal ancient lands were closed. The conditions were simple, and the rewards were ordinary too. The winner would be given a chance to listen to a 9 Heavens Supreme's lecture and cultivate in the Tao-seeking land for 10 days. Such a reward was within the reach of many geniuses with astonishing statuses. However, their ultimate goal in participating in this battle was still that supreme glory. The glory did not belong to them alone. The 9 heavens immortal realm had countless successions. Whoever claimed the title of the strongest immortal would be able to prove how powerful their successions were. "The strongest immortal, huh?" Qin Nan murmured and closed his eyes. Time gradually passed. 5 days later, the mist looming over the yellow grassland finally revealed a path leading deeper into the city. Immortal glows were emitted from the path. The entire ancient city was in an uproar. Even though Qin Nan was inside the room that was protected by a formation, he could still hear the piercing sound coming from the outside, as if a shocking tide had just taken place. "Cultivator Xianji, let's go together." Qin Nan arrived above the city with a flicker. The golden flames in his eyes flickered when he saw the scene before him. Tens of thousands of cultivators turned into immortal rays and entered the city at a shocking pace. There were human gods and earth gods among them, disciples of the supreme Taoism factions and peerless rulers, and ordinary rogue cultivators too. In addition to them, there were tens of thousands of cultivators in the city too. They were unleashing their auras as they waited for their chance. The scene was a lot grander than Qin Nan had imagined. It was mainly because he had overlooked something. For many cultivators, the forbidden lands that were known as immortal ancient lands were not only a place where they could ascend as an immortal, it was also a place of fortunate encounters. It would be a great deal if they could find some of the fortunate encounters. Qin Nan sensed something and looked up. Among the cultivators, there was a young man wearing a monk's robe. His palms were placed together, and he was chanting ancient scriptures as he walked forward at a steady pace. On the other side, there was a young man with a sword on his back, leading more than 20 cultivators. His aura was like an unsheathed immortal sword, and any cultivator who stood in his way would be mercilessly attacked. Not only that, there were also 2 masked men in white robes and 13 heavenly gods who had entered the great Tao in a flash. All of them emitted terrifying auras. The monk is a core disciple of one of the 13 supreme Taoism factions, the ancient Bodhi Temple. His name is Longchan. He's also a peerless genius. Su Xianji had arrived beside Qin Nan out of nowhere. Her eyes glittered as she said in a pleasant voice, "The young man with the sword is also a core disciple of the Extreme Living Gate, one of the 13 supreme Taoism factions. His name is Guzhani. Those 2 white-robed men are very mysterious. We haven't found out their identities yet." Qin Nan frowned and said, "There aren't as many peerless geniuses as I thought. If every immortal ancient place was the same, how was he going to ascend as an immortal?" Su Xianji giggled and said, "Friend Qin Nan, leaving aside the fact that we've found 15 immortal ancient places, who knew the land of immortal death would be accessible so soon? If we did, it would be a different story. Don't worry about it. If you need a grand occasion, you can just wait until the end." Qin Nan was startled, but he soon came to a realization. He might need 2 or 3 immortal ancient places to ascend as an immortal. It was the same for the other peerless geniuses too. On top of that, some cultivators who had yet to ascend as an immortal or had yet to acquire any fortunate encounters would head to the next immortal ancient place to look for more opportunities. In other words, the further they went, the grander the occasion would be. "That's reasonable, let's head in." Qin Nan's eyes emitted a golden glow as he flew forward. Meanwhile, inside a palace in the ancient city, "Report to young master." A disciple quickly ran over and said, "Qin Nan and Su Xianji have entered the land of immortal death." In front of the disciple was little Peng Emperor Wan Shao. However, this time, he was not alone. He was accompanied by 23 heaven gods. Not far away from him sat a young man in a blue bamboo robe with a gentle appearance. Beside the young man were 15 peak heaven gods too. "Elder Lin, since they have gone in, shouldn't we make our move too?" Wan Zhao's eyes were brimming with murderous intent as he said coldly, "Brother Wan, why are you in such a rush? From what I know, Zhao Lijian under the South World Immortal Emperor's command is on his way here. He will be here soon." The young man called Elder Lin said with a gentle smile, "If we work together, wouldn't we be able to secure the place?" He added, "It's Elder Long's order too, I can't disobey it." Wan Shao harumphed coldly and said, "If we can't catch him by then, don't blame me for not giving you any face." Meanwhile, in the mist, as soon as Qin Nan entered the room, the scene before him changed tremendously. 7 huge mountains hung in the sky like 7 peerless immortal swords that could fall at any time, causing people to tremble in fear. The whole place was dyed in the color of blood. A murderous intent lingered in the air. The sky in the distance was emitting various immortal glows, as if they were hiding some kind of succession. The land of immortal death was similar to the forbidden grounds he had visited in the past. Every cultivator would be separated randomly after entering the place. However, Su Xianji was no longer with him. Whenever an immortal ancient place is opened, it means the succession inside it has been opened too. With the influence of the white blue flower, there might be more of them. Qin Nan immediately flew forward as the thought crossed his mind. He did not have any plans. His thoughts were simple. He would claim every succession that appeared. If there were two, he would claim both of them. He would crush anyone that stood in his way. No one could stop him from ascending as an immortal. Bang, bang, bang. After the period it took an incense to burn, a few godly glows appeared in the woods ahead, followed by a series of collisions. An immortal herb. Chapter 16:13. Black Saber's reaction. Who's there? 12 shouts exploded from the forest at the same time. Following it, 3 heaven gods and 9 peak earth gods flew out from the woods with dark expressions. They had already performed hand seals as they were about to execute immortal arts. They had put in a lot of effort to compete for the immortal herb, thus they were not in a good mood when it was taken away all of a sudden. Destruction. Qin Nan was about to make his move too. God of misfortune Qin Nan? To their surprise, the 13 cultivators were startled and their faces turned pale when they saw Qin Nan's appearance. Let's go. Without the slightest hesitation, the 13 cultivators turned around and fled. Similar to how Su Xianji was familiar with the other geniuses, they were well prepared too. They had investigated the appearance of the geniuses, their auras, the arts they were good at, etc. Qin Nan, who had recently made a name for himself, caught their attention too. As such, they immediately left when they recognized Qin Nan. He was the man who had killed the underworld prince and remained undefeated in a duel with Ding Tianqi. He also possessed the flesh of bad fortune from the ancient era. They would not dare to fight him regardless of how bold they were. Now, even my appearance is a great deterrent? Qin Nan was startled. He touched his face before putting the immortal herb away and continued to fly forward. Over the next few hours, his eyes flickered with astonishment. As expected of an immortal ancient place, almost every place had immortal herbs, some successions and blessed lands, allowing Qin Nan to reap a lot of benefit. That being said, the land of immortal death was not just for show. He did stumble into a lot of shocking dangers along the way, but he managed to overcome them all. Let's refine it first. Qin Nan came to a stop and sat on the ground with his legs crossed. He was planning to ascend as an immortal. Not only would he need a grand occasion, he would also need a tremendous amount of god force, thus he had to accumulate it bit by bit. After some time, the ground began to shake vigorously. Bang! An earth-shattering boom exploded in the sky, as if the world was shattering. Qin Nan frowned and looked up, only to see a shocking scene. The 7 huge mountains that were hanging upside down in the sky were all shattered. Countless large rocks fell down like a violent storm, smashing large holes in the ground. Dazzling immortal light started to shine from the inside of the mountain. The 7 mountains were not deadly traps, but 7 extraordinary successions. A golden light flashed in Qin Nan's eyes. Just as he was about to move, he suddenly sensed something and looked into the distance. At the end of the horizon, countless white clouds seemed to be attracted by a mysterious force as they continuously gathered together. Gradually, they evolved into the phantoms of divine beasts such as phoenixes, divine dragons, and qilins. However, compared to the 7 mountains that shook the heavens and the earth, such an ordinary phenomenon seemed to be unremarkable. Go to the end. Qin Nan made his decision in an instant. It was as if the extraordinary successions in the 7 mountains were already prepared by a great authority. The rare phenomenon at the end of the horizon seemed to be triggered by the white-blue flower, causing it to open all of a sudden. Even though it was only a speculation in his mind, it was not too late for him to return even if he ended up going to the wrong place. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As Qin Nan was moving forward, a series of whooshes took place in the air. In front of him, to his left, right, and in the distance, wisps of godly light transformed into various kinds of immortal arts and flew toward the 7 mountains at a shocking pace. It was quite a magnificent sight. Without being exaggerating, at least a third of the cultivators that had entered the land of immortal death had gone to the 7 mountains. Xianji, Longchan, and Guzhini, the 2 mysterious cultivators in white robes, none of them went to the 7 mountains. Qin Nan's golden eyes quickly scanned the figures as a thought crossed his mind. The peerless geniuses must have noticed something. The land of immortal death had once killed thousands of immortals, thus its name had spread far and wide. Could it be that the 7 mountains in front of him were some kind of conspiracy to kill the cultivators too? He subconsciously felt a great chill running down his spine having the thought. If that was the case, these forbidden places that were labeled as immortal ancient places were a lot more dangerous than he had imagined. Buzz. At that instant, a clear buzz of a saber could be heard. The black saber that had been stored in his sumeru ring flew out on its own and headed toward the 7 mountains. Qin Nan frowned. He unleashed his eye technique to seal off the black saber. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The black saber began to vibrate vigorously, unleashing wisps of saber intent. However, it was unable to break through the eye technique. It could only spin rapidly as if it was in a hurry. Senior sister, are you saying that senior brother Qingshan is here? And he's in danger? Qin Nan probed after being startled. The saber was transformed from Meng Jiangnu, thus it was reasonable for him to refer to her as senior sister. The black saber seemed to be quite intelligent. It stopped vibrating vigorously, but it kept swinging downward at Qin Nan, as if it was nodding its head. Qin Nan was startled. He quickly withdrew his eye technique. Bring me there. The black saber immediately turned into a beam of light heading straight for the 3rd mountain. As for Qin Nan, he quickly followed it. He completely forgot about the conspiracy and the succession. Meanwhile, in a mountain in the distance, little Pring Emperor Wan Shao, Zhao Lijian, and Elder Lin raised their heads and stared at the magnificent sight above them. The 73-peak heaven gods behind them kept whispering among themselves. They would occasionally glance upward with great interest. If it weren't for the great benefits that the 3 cultivators had promised them, they would have gone straight to the 7 mountains instead of waiting here. Qin Nan is heading there too. Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao suddenly spoke. His eyes were emitting a golden glow. It was using an eye technique of the beast tribe to search for Qin Nan. Very well, Brother Wan, Brother Zhao, we'll split into 3 groups and approach him from 3 different directions. Elder Lin immediately emitted a godly glow as he said, Remember, when we're 10,000 zhang away from him, we'll perform a hand seal at the same time. In this way, not only will he not be able to discover us, we can also secretly set up a peerless formation that can easily kill him. His blood began to boil upon hearing this. Even though he was an outer elder of the Heaven Illusionary Ancestor sect, he had never set up a trap to kill a peerless genius. Got it. Chapter 1614. A tide of murderous intent. Meanwhile, more and more cultivators were flying into the mountain. Qin Nan followed the black saber. It took him around 100 breaths to reach the 3rd mountain. The entire mountain was covered in an immortal glow and a strong presence of qi, as if it contained some astounding artifact. The most peculiar thing was that when they set foot on the mountain, their figures would be guided by an invisible force. They did not need to rely on their god force, nor would they fall to the ground. When they glanced at the ground from the top of the mountain, it felt like the whole world had turned upside down. The ground had turned into the sky while they were still on the ground. It's really senior brother. After flying for a few moments, Qin Nan came to a stop when he arrived at a forest. A few thousand zhang in front of him, Tang Qingshan's hair was disheveled, and his robe was tattered and dyed red with blood. His eyes were completely black, filled with a frenzied murderous intent. Behind him were 5 young men in blue golden robes. Their godly glow had reached the peak heaven god realm. Furthermore, there was a terrifying aura surging from their bodies. It was obvious that the 5 young men had a shocking background. They were no ordinary heaven gods. Tang Qingshan, you're only a peak human god. Don't you dare be so ungrateful. Hand over the thing at once. The young man in the lead had a gloomy expression on his face as he snapped, "Let me tell you, my patience is limited. Don't force me. Otherwise, even if it means hurting the thing, I'll make you suffer." The other 4 young men harumphed coldly. They fired a few rays of light at Tang Qingshan's joints. Blood poured out from the wounds. Tang Qingshan did not frown, nor did he make any noise. He continued to charge forward with all his god force. Qin Nan was the only one who clearly saw the black glow in Tang Qingshan's eyes turning colder, as if he was going to be devoured by the boundless murderous intent and turn into a murderous demon. "Senior apprentice brother, more and more cultivators are coming. If this continues..." The 4 young men wore unpleasant looks. "Tang Qingshan, you asked for this. Today, I'll let you know what it means to wish you were dead." The eyes of the young man in the lead were blazing with flames. He couldn't endure it any longer, and he formed seals with the intention of executing an immortal art to completely crush this ant before him. "You want to make him wish he was dead?" Right at this moment, an icy cold voice resounded, causing the temperature in an area of a few kilometers to abruptly drop. Qin Nan's figure appeared beside Tang Qingshan, his face as cold as frost. "Qin Nan." Tang Qingshan's body stiffened. The crazy killing intent in his ink-black eyes began to recede bit by bit. He never thought that he would run into his junior brother here. You're here too?" Tang Qingshan soon saw the black blade. His body immediately trembled violently, and the darkness in his eyes completely disappeared. Ever since he embarked on the path of killing, Qin Nan and the black blade were his only source of light in this vast world. Especially after he lost the black blade, his world had collapsed. A peak heaven god realm cultivator? The young man in the lead halted his hand seal and uttered a hollow laugh. "Tang Qingshan, it turns out that you've found a helper to run for your life at all costs." He glanced at Qin Nan with a hint of murderous intent. "Kid, judging from your extraordinary aura, you must have some background. However, you can't afford to mess with us. You have 3 breaths' time to leave the mountain." The other 4 young men uttered hollow laughs too. They did not treat Qin Nan seriously at all. It was not like they were being full of themselves, but in their eyes, Tang Qingshan had ascended from the secondary lower realm. How strong could the people that Tang Qingshan knew be? Meanwhile, 10,000 zhang away from the 3rd mountain, Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao, Zhao Lijin, and Elder Lin each led a group of heaven gods and approached Qin Nan at a shocking pace. Extreme illusionary heaven furious immortal slaying formation. When they were only 10,000 zhang away from Qin Nan, they immediately raised their hands and performed a mystical hand seal. Wisps of mist immediately rose up from under their feet and wrapped around their bodies. Then, they disappeared without a trace. A formidable force burst out of the 3 groups of people and soared into the sky above Qin Nan and his crew. A formless and terrifying formation was instantly formed. "Qin Nan, I have to say you're indeed a dragon among men, a top genius in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm." Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao shook his head and said coldly, "However, you're destined to turn into a pile of yellow soil today. The Xianji is mine, no one can take it away from me." Meanwhile, Zhao Lijin and Elder Lin were grinning from ear to ear. In their eyes, Qin Nan was already a dead man. Once the matter came to an end, they would be able to obtain great benefits from their factions and master Long Xianling. It seems like the so-called peerless genius isn't as terrifying as they thought. As for the 70 heaven gods that the 3 of them were leading, a thought crossed their minds. Even though they had teamed up, they still ended up killing a peerless genius in the end. "Do it." Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao and the others exchanged glances with one another. They immediately gave out their orders and performed the last few hand seals they were going to perform. Meanwhile, in the woods on the 3rd mountain, "Qin Nan, don't be infuriated by them. Think of a way to leave this place together. If we can leave this place, I'm here. Tang Qingshan immediately transmitted his voice to Qin Nan. He was well aware of Qin Nan's personality. However, he subconsciously assumed that Qin Nan would not be able to defeat the 5 peak heaven gods with formidable background. Asking me to leave? Who do you think you are? The golden flames in Qin Nan's eyes were unusually calm. However, if one were to take a closer look, they would notice cracks spreading across the ground under his feet. Who do you think we are? The 5 young men were startled. They could not believe what they were hearing. They had given the peak heaven god a chance, yet not only did he not accept their kindness, he even dared to mock them in return? Die! However, before they could lose their temper, they heard an icy voice that froze them in their tracks. Their eyes immediately saw an incomparably shocking scene. Following this, a terrifying murderous intent burst out from Qin Nan's body, as an eye-catching crimson glow covered an area with a circumference of 15 zhang. Chapter 16:15. The Approaching Danger. A 15 zhang materialized red glow? The faces of the 5 young men instantly turned pale white. Their bodies began to tremble subconsciously. Even their voices began to tremble. They were from a faction under a peerless ruler in another small immortal realm. They were the inner disciples of the faction they belonged to. They had seen a lot of peerless geniuses and terrifying people in their lives, but they had never seen a heaven god emitting a crimson light that was over 150 zhang long. A 15 zhang? They were not the only ones. Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao, Zhao Lijin, Elder Lin, and the rest of the peak heaven gods were startled, while the rest had turned pale. A 15 zhang materialized red glow. How significant was that? It would only appear after killing at least 8 peerless geniuses. Most importantly, they were extremely familiar with Qin Nan's current situation. It had only been a month since the incident at the birthday feast had ended. What had he done in such a short period of time? How did he kill so many peerless geniuses? Qin Nan Yu. Tang Qingshan was clueless about the seal of the heavens and earth, but he was well aware of the significance of the murderous aura since he had practiced the Tao of slaughter. Qin Nan had only been in the 9 heavens immortal realm for a short period of time. What exactly had he been through? Mercy! Senior, please spare our lives. We are the inner disciples of the Aquamoon Immortal Emperor. We have offended you, we will. The 5 young men reacted under the great pressure, and instantly lost their arrogance and begged for mercy. Buzz. However, before they could finish their words, an ice-cold saber-chi swallowed them up like a demon opening its bloody mouth. 5 peak heavenly gods were killed in one strike. Gasp! The heaven gods around 10,000 zhang away immediately took deep breath. The icy saber intent and the blood splattering in the air were extremely shocking to them. They were just thinking that a peerless genius was nothing special. However, they now realized that they were wrong, and very wrong at that. Even among the peerless geniuses there were different levels. Qin Nan was no doubt one of the strongest peerless geniuses. Heavenly gods like them didn't even have the qualifications to block a single strike from the other party. Everyone in the sky, you've hidden yourselves very well. Even I didn't notice you guys just now. I was almost trapped by you guys in the formation. At this moment, Qin Nan raised his head. His blood-red hair danced in the wind as he spoke coldly. Although he did not use any immortal arts, many heavenly gods felt like they were being stared at by a terrifying demon. Their scalps went numb. Go. A few dozen heaven gods who had only achieved the 2 extremities could not endure it any longer. They immediately executed their strongest escape techniques and disappeared into the distance. Not good. Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao, Zhao Lijin, and Elder Lin's expressions changed again. The killing intent emitted by Qin Nan had indeed given them a huge impact, but as long as they continued to operate the formation, they still had a high chance of winning. But now it was different. Destruction Battle Saber. Qin Nan made his move. He swung the saber and unleashed a formidable saber intent. It sprang into the sky from the woods like a ferocious dragon and landed on the weakest spot of the formation. Bang bang bang! Several runes of the formation appeared and broke into pieces. Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao, Zhao Lijin, Elder Lin, and the others were exposed to the surroundings. Little Pring Emperor, it's you again. Qin Nan's eyes were engulfed in golden flames as his armor appeared. He took a step forward and arrived in front of them. He immediately unleashed thousands of shocking saber intent. How did his cultivation become so strong? Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao and Zhao Lijin initially wanted to fight Qin Nan, but their hearts immediately turned cold when the saber intents surged at them. Retreat! The three immediately made up their minds and fled into the distance with their move. At the same time, the three of them felt exactly the same. They were all filled with regret. If they knew Qin Nan's cultivation had become so strong, they would not have provoked him for the time being. It was purely a waste of energy, and they were putting themselves in danger too. The other heaven gods no longer had the courage to fight after seeing this. They immediately scattered in all directions. How could I let you leave so easily after setting up such a deadly trap for me? Sky desolating saber intent, white slashing flying spirit, death upon the area. Qin Nan unleashed three immortal arts at the same time with a tremendous aura. Wisps of saber intents burst out of Little Pring Emperor and the others. Countless sky-desolating saber intents surged forward, summoning countless heroic spirits. A series of cries of agony echoed in the air. One heaven god realm expert after another fell to the ground. Their blood splattered across the place. Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao, Zhao Lijin, and the others suffered serious injuries too. What's going on? Why are so many experts fleeing for their lives? The cultivators on the other mountains and the cultivators that were flying toward the place were astounded upon seeing this. They subconsciously assumed that someone had triggered some kind of deadly trap. You're pretty lucky. Qin Nan calmed his aura upon seeing this. He landed on the ground and said to Tang Qingshan with a smile, "Senior brother, it's been a while." His smile came from the bottom of his heart. It was extremely warm, completely different from his previous demonic appearance. Tang Qingshan was startled for a moment. He soon wore a smile. Not bad, kid. You've become so strong not long after you came to the Nine Heavens Immortal Realm. Qin Nan coughed and switched the topic. Senior brother, what happened just then? Tang Qingshan's eyes glittered. He let out a sigh and said, "It's a little complicated." Qin Nan listened quietly without interrupting. He finally came to a realization in the end. Tang Qingshan was different from him. He had gone to the Zuanpingshan Small Immortal Realm after coming to the Nine Heavens Immortal Realm. Later, in a forbidden area, he obtained an amazing secret treasure, but who would have thought that it would be coveted by these young men? He had lost the black saber while trying to protect him. He had also come to the Shangxingshan Small Immortal Realm to look for the black saber. He had entered the land of immortal death with his senses, yet he ended up stumbling into the same group of people again. I see. Qin Nan nodded. He said as a sudden thought crossed his mind, "Senior brother, these 7 mountains might be a conspiracy. We should leave at once." He almost forgot about it as he was too occupied with Tang Qingshan. A conspiracy? Tang Qingshan frowned and said, "I." Chapter 16:16. No one knew what was going to happen. Qin Nan felt a great chill running down his spine. Without any hesitation, he circulated his divine power to its peak and disappeared into the distance with Tang Qingshan. Bang! Wisps of terrifying saber intents burst out from the ground where they were standing and the rest of the land, soaring into the sky. In addition to the 3rd mountain, the same thing happened to the other 6 mountains too, as if several peerless saber artists had appeared out of nowhere. Such powerful saber intents, each of them can easily slay a human immortal. Qin Nan's eyes glittered. He summoned the crimson battle armor and stood in front of Tang Qingshan. It was obvious that the saber intents had only just begun. No one knew what was going to happen next. What's going on? Why are there so many saber intents? Could it be that a great succession of saber arts has appeared? The cultivators on the other mountains and those who were on their way to the scene were confused. There were also quite a few people whose spirits were lifted and their eyes were filled with excitement. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At that instant, the powerful saber intents slashed in all directions at a shocking speed. Some slashed at the rift, some at the mountains, but most of them were targeting the cultivators. No. The cultivators' eyes widened. They were devoured by the saber intents before they could even utter a word. Unstoppable step. Qin Nan's hair stood on its end. They were unlucky enough to encounter 3 saber intents at once. However, he was already prepared for it. He turned into a ray of light and disappeared with a flicker. Bang! Even so, he was still struck by the saber intents on his back. His flesh cracked open as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Qin Nan, are you all right? Tang Qingshan was startled. I'm fine, it's just a little injury. Qin Nan activated the forbidden taboo flesh to recover his injuries. He lifted his gaze and looked ahead. With one look, he sucked in a breath of cold air. Even though no screams could be heard, the entire void was dyed red with blood. Countless droplets of blood fell to the ground, dripping down. A huge kill word appeared, giving people an inexplicable sense of fear. This. Some of the cultivators who had survived wore pale faces as their bodies trembled. This isn't a place of succession, but a place of death. In the next moment, they hurriedly formed hand seals and turned into rays of divine light that disappeared into the distant sky. Of course, there were also many cultivators who chose not to leave after calming down. As the saying goes, fortune and misfortune come hand in hand. In their hearts, they felt that these 7 mountains were not purely a land of death. There should be a shocking inheritance inside. Senior brother, I feel like this is just the beginning. The killing opportunities that appear later are even more terrifying. Let's leave now. Qin Nan withdrew his gaze and said with a solemn expression. Qin Nan, you should leave first. Tang Qingshan said with a determined look. I didn't tell you before, but after I came to this land of immortal death, the artifact I found had a strange reaction. It's the reason why I'm able to come to the 3rd mountain. Saying this, he took out a blood-red seal around the size of a palm from his summer ring. It contained a shocking murderous aura. 4 ancient words floated on the seal. Fortune and misfortune come hand in hand. Fortune and misfortune come hand in hand? Qin Nan read the words and said, Senior brother, I'll go with you. Now that Tang Qingshan's cultivation was not good enough, even with this very mysterious murderous aura stone seal in his hand, if he encountered even the slightest bit of danger later, he might die. Tang Qingshan was startled. He was about to say something when he saw Qin Nan's gaze. He fell silent for a moment before saying, I won't be too courteous with you then. Qin Nan wore a smile and said, It's great that you're being courteous with me. Let's go. The 2 figures flew into the depths of the forest together. After the saber intents exploded, the 7 mountains were no longer covered in immortal glows, as if they were activating some shocking succession. Instead, they were filled with an eerie aura and saber intents. It was as if heaven had turned into hell, where a peerless demon could show up at any second. There were initially tens of thousands of people trying to climb the mountains, but only a few hundred people remained. Time gradually passed. Half an hour later, the surroundings began to gradually darken, and the invisible oppressive atmosphere became more and more intense. Corpses began to appear in the woods that used to be empty. These corpses had lost their auras. They would turn into dust with a gentle touch, but when one saw them with their own eyes, they would feel a strange fear. Buzz. The seal finally reacted. It began to vibrate while the words fortune and misfortune emitted a crimson glow. It seems like we're not far away, Qin Nan said in a low voice. As a safety precaution, he fired a godly glow to form a godly robe for Tang Qingshan. The color of the path is turning white, and the number of ancient trees is decreasing. We must have entered some kind of formation. Tang Qingshan scanned his surroundings. Even though he did not have the golden eyes of the divine god of battle like Qin Nan, he was able to sense the slightest abnormality in his surroundings. There's a boulder standing there. Qin Nan suddenly spoke, causing the two to quicken their pace. A while later, they saw the boulder. The boulder was 10 zhang tall. It was deadly silent without any sign of movement. In the middle of the boulder were countless runes that combined together to form a few words. Peerless. Land of danger? Tang Qingshan took a closer look and was stunned. There was a land of danger right in front of the boulder? But why would the boulder be here on purpose to warn them? I'll go take a look. Qin Nan arrived behind the boulder with a flicker. The scene in front of his eyes suddenly began to change. When it completely stabilized, his mind was immediately shaken. Behind the boulder was a huge valley. The valley was filled with a strong murderous intent, as if it was a kingdom of the god of slaughter. In addition to that, even though Qin Nan's left eye of the divine god of battle could only see a little of it, his divine sense was able to sense it. Underneath the valley, there were at least hundreds of different and terrifyingly powerful restrictions, as well as some ancient formations and unknown dangers. In such a place, not to mention them, even if an earthly immortal expert entered it, it was doubtful whether they could survive. It was not an exaggeration to call it a land of danger. Whoosh! Chapter 16-17. Eerie demonic figures. A demon statue stained with blood, a pale branch of an ancient tree, a dilapidated gate with the shape of a human face, etc. A total of 19 terrifying objects appeared at the same time. Bang! An invisible aura surged in all directions like a heavenly dragon. The crimson-golden battle armor on Qin Nan began to emit a blinding crimson glow, as if it was stimulated by something. If that's the case, there must be a shocking inheritance among these 19 monsters. Qin Nan frowned and said, however, it's impossible to tell which one is the succession, and which one is the danger. Tang Qingshan also frowned. After a few breaths, he relaxed and said, let's enter the demon statue. Qin Nan was startled. How did you know? Do I really need to know? Tang Qingshan's lips curled upward as he said, as my junior brother, you've already surpassed me. As your senior brother, wouldn't it be a joke if I still don't improve myself? I can't tell for now. Just pick one, and if you don't hear my name in 10 years, remember to set up a grave for me. With that, he turned into a beam of divine light and entered the blood-stained demonic statue. The 19 objects let out a buzz and sank into the void. The whole place fell into a dead silence. In Tang Qingshan's opinion, becoming a heaven god or a human immortal was meaningless to him. He had already embarked on the path of killing. There were only 2 endings in his life. Either his name would spread far and wide, or he would turn into dust. Senior brother, I'm not going to set up a grave for you. Qin Nan was startled. He soon shook his head. He believed Tang Qingshan would surely be able to make a name for himself in the 9 heavens, immortal realm. It was not because Tang Qingshan was his senior brother, but because of how determined Tang Qingshan was. What should I do now? Qin Nan quickly collected his thoughts and considered the current situation. Su Xianji, Long Chan, Gu Zhini, and the rest of the peerless geniuses must have gone to the place where the illusionary figures of the godly beasts were mutating. After seeing the murderous intent from the 7 mountains, most of the cultivators must have changed their route and headed there. If he were to set off now, it would take him at least 4 hours to reach his destination. By then, the succession of the rare phenomenon would most likely be fought over by the peerless geniuses. His chance was extremely slim. That being said, the reputable land of immortal death would definitely have plenty of shocking inheritances. With the power of the white-blue flower, he would only need to wait a little longer to trigger a new change. Let's go to the depths of this mountain and take a look. Golden flames danced in Qin Nan's eyes. Every single mountain here was extraordinary, and there should be more than one legacy. He could not afford to waste any more time before the next great change. Shwa shwa shwa. At that instant, a shocking heat came from the sky. The darkness nearby was lit up by the glow of the flames. Qin Nan quickly raised his head and saw fiery rain the size of a palm pouring down at a shocking pace. A drop of the fiery rain landed on the ground in the distance and set it on fire. Most strangely, the ground and the branches were not affected by the fiery rain at all. The fiery rain was specifically used to set cultivators on fire. Each drop was strong enough to burn a human immortal to death. The second massacre that Qin Nan had a premonition about had begun. The path ahead is unaffected. Qin Nan scanned his surroundings before he disappeared into the distance. He had only flown for less than a few tens of breaths of time when numerous shrill cries sounded out from the distance, one after another. There was simply no need to imagine how tragic it was outside. I managed to avoid it. Qin Nan took a deep breath. He slowed down and looked ahead. He had no idea where he had come to in the past 10 breaths. Everything in front of him was pitch black. He could only see around 10 zhang with his eye technique. Even the rain of fire that blanketed the sky and earth was unable to illuminate this place. Qin Nan was startled. As he continued to move forward, the icy ground under his feet began to change. Wisps of immortal intent began to flow. Flowers and trees with outstanding presence of qi began to appear on both sides of the path. Even though these natural resources were not immortal herbs, the number of them was comparable to a few immortal herbs. Did I just walk into a land of treasure? The thought crossed Qin Nan's mind. However, he did not pick them. He became even more cautious. Ancient demon hand. All of a sudden, a hoarse voice could be heard coming from the darkness, as a giant pitch-black hand grabbed at Qin Nan in a shocking manner. Crap! Qin Nan was startled. He was about to execute the sky-stride blow. However, the demon hand was too quick. It was so quick that he could not even unleash his god force before it grabbed him and dragged him backward. The ancient demon hand finally dissipated on its own when he was dragged into a stone hall. Who's there? Qin Nan groaned and scanned his surroundings. The stone hall covered an area with a circumference of over 10,000 zhang. The walls on both sides were carved with ancient drawings. Some of them were solemn-looking bodhisattvas, while others were immortals in long robes with angry faces. It was quite a strange sight. As for the depths of the hall, there were 3 ancient, icy sabers that were over 300 zhang long. Each contained a shocking aura, which were inserted into the ground in a cross. A pitch-black demonic shadow was shuddering at the intersection. It would occasionally form a face with no eyes. Who are you? Qin Nan unleashed his god force. His right arm exploded and transformed into the heaven-shattering saber. As soon as the heaven-shattering saber appeared, the 3 ancient sabers shuddered slightly. Their icy glow seemed to have dimmed slightly. TSK, such a mystical saber, it's able to suppress the 3 immortal suppressing sabers. The demonic shadow blurted out in astonishment. It then chuckled and said, "It seems like the person I've been waiting for is really you. You might not believe what I'm about to say, but a peerless ruler once predicted that you'll be able to save me." Qin Nan immediately came to a realization upon hearing this. He immediately said, "Senior, that's enough, I don't believe it. I have something else to attend to, so I'll be leaving first." He turned around and headed for the entrance. Since the demonic shadow was being suppressed, there was no need for him to be so courteous. After all, if the demonic shadow was strong enough to kill him, he would not waste his time talking to him. He would just attack him straight away. As for saving the demonic shadow, that was even more unlikely. In a place filled with killing intent, and in an immortal ancient place that only those below the human immortal realm could enter, a devil's shadow was suppressed. This was no ordinary strange. Don't you dare! I'm the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor, you! The demonic shadow did not expect this to happen. He immediately yelled furiously, but before he could finish, he was stunned when he saw Qin Nan walking out of the hall. Chapter 1618. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor. Hold on. Cultivator, please hold on. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor panicked. He completely lost his previous arrogance. He had been trapped here for a few thousand years. He would be killed by the immortal suppressing 3 sabers in a few hundred years. Most importantly, normally, the palace would not open, meaning he would not be able to stumble into any cultivators. However, for some reason, the palace opened on its own, and he happened to stumble into Qin Nan. If he lost the chance, he had no idea if the palace would open again. Even if it did, he had no idea if he would stumble into any cultivators. In other words, it was his only chance, a once-in-a-blue-moon chance. However, Qin Nan walked out of the palace as if he did not hear anything. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's face immediately turned pale. He yelled with all his might, "Cultivator, don't go, please don't go. If you're willing to help me, I can bring you to the places where the successions are located in the land of immortal death and help you secure the successions." His voice echoed in the hall. However, there was no longer any trace of the person in front of him. "That asshole, if I'm allowed to leave this place, I'm going to tear you into pieces and toss you to someone with a fetish for." The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor felt like he was about to lose his mind. He was one of the strongest peerless rulers in the 9 Heavens immortal realm, a man who had almost achieved the 9 Heavens supreme realm. Since when was he treated like this by a mere cultivator? "Are you cursing me?" Qin Nan's voice could be heard coming from outside the hall as his figure entered the hall. You're back." The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was overjoyed. He quickly said, "It's a misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. I was cursing someone else, not you." Qin Nan's lips twisted upon hearing the words. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was considered an authority, yet why was he so thick-skinned? Qin Nan shook his head and said, "Senior, I won't waste my time with you. Can you bring me to the places where the successions are located in the land of immortal death?" It was because of this sentence that he had returned. Even though the white-blue flower was affecting the entire land of immortal death, it was impossible to tell how long it would take for the successions to show up in advance. It would be best if they could get there earlier. Of course. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor said proudly, "I was once a peak peerless ruler, and I've achieved the minor success stage of the Tao realm. Later on, in order to achieve the greater success stage of the Tao realm and condense the Tao crystal, I prepared to use a law-defying method to refine the land of immortal death." Hearing this, Qin Nan was surprised. He did not expect the shameless person before him to possess such a cultivation in the past, and even do such a shocking thing, planning to refine an immortal ancient place. Such a thing had never happened before in the entire immortal realms. As you can see, I failed to refine it, resulting in the destruction of my physical body. My soul was suppressed here and suffered torment. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor said, however, "That's why I know the successions of the land of immortal death like the back of my hand, and I can make my way there quickly." He had lied to Qin Nan about one of the things he said. He did not know the successions of the land of immortal death, because he was suppressed here, but he already knew everything about the land of immortal death before he was suppressed. Otherwise, why would he dare to refine an immortal ancient place? "Senior, is it possible for me to save you with my cultivation?" Qin Nan murmured. Of course. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor blurted out, the immortal suppressing 3 sabers only suppress the soul, not the cultivator. You can easily move it with your god force. Qin Nan said without hesitation, if that's the case, Senior, let's not waste any more time. Swear an immortal demon oath, and I'll save you. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's illusionary aura shuddered before he chuckled. Thanks in advance. I'll swear an immortal demon oath now, I swear. Qin Nan listened to the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's explanation. He immediately made his move after confirming that the immortal suppressing 3 sabers had not made any mistake. Buzz. The immortal suppressing 3 sabers emitted a brilliant immortal glow, but they did not resist. They shuddered at the heaven-shattering saber before turning into 3 rays of light and disappearing into the distance. Ha ha ha, I'm finally able to see the light again. A burst of deafening laughter exploded in the entire hall. The illusionary demonic aura expanded rapidly and turned into a bulky young man with a demon horn on his head. A shocking aura burst out of his body. Even though the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was still in a weakened state, his soul was able to communicate with the heavens and earth after he was no longer suppressed. Senior, it's your turn to fulfill your promise. Qin Nan reminded him. There was no sign of fear in his eyes. He was willing to lend the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor a hand not only because of the benefits, but also because of the mysteries of his flesh and the divine battle spirit. In simpler words, he would not be harmed if the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor attacked him in his spirit form. Kid, did you know that even some peerless rulers who had just achieved the peerless ruler realm did not dare to treat me like that? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor looked down at Qin Nan with a twisted expression. Where did a mere heaven god like you get the guts to do that? Qin Nan frowned. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. I was going to torture you, but since you've let me go, I guess I'll let it go. That being said, I happen to be looking for a flesh. Yours is perfect. Saying this, his soul immediately turned into 8 demonic flames looming over Qin Nan. Didn't you swear an immortal demon oath? Why are you still attacking me? Qin Nan was confused. Ha ha, kid, you're too ignorant. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor burst out laughing. I no longer have a flesh, nor a Tao glow. My soul is about to be destroyed. An immortal demon oath is useless in my current state. In your next life, you must remember this. After he finished speaking, his eyes revealed a trace of excitement. Through a simple observation, he realized that the kid's flesh was no ordinary flesh. He might even be a peerless genius. On top of that, the saber the kid had was quite mystical too. Is that really possible? Qin Nan's eyes glittered. He had indeed been too careless this time. Chapter 1619. The Tree of Immortal Transformation. A magnificent blue glow emerged from Qin Nan's back. An ancient aura surged across the hall like a surging sea. Even the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor felt a lot minuscule under the pressure. What's that? Why does it have such a shocking aura? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was startled, but he soon became excited. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect you to have such an extraordinary background. I'm in luck this time. The 8 demonic flames that he turned into engulfed Qin Nan's figure and set him on fire. No reaction? Qin Nan was startled. Could it be that he was wrong? The divine battle spirit was not effective against the demonic flames? F***K The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor cursed when he sensed Qin Nan's body before he could make his move. You've refined the Tao crystal and achieved the greater success stage of the Tao realm? The greater success stage of the Tao realm, how significant was that? He had taken the risk to refine the land of immortal death in order to refine the Tao crystal, and ended up in his current state. However, the heaven god had yet to ascend as an immortal. How did he manage to refine the Tao crystal? What What the F asterisk asterisk K? What's that? Following it, he was dumbfounded when he saw the bones covered in the Tao runes of the divine god of battle. He had never seen anything like it, nor had he heard of anything like it. Why would the Tao runes cover the bones? As a peerless ruler, he had a strong instinct after venturing into dangerous places countless times. Not only was the person he was trying to refine an extraordinary peerless genius, he also had a formidable background. In simple words, he had kicked an iron plate. Retreat. Although an exceptional opportunity was right before his eyes, he did not hesitate in the slightest. As soon as this thought appeared in his mind, he activated a spirit escape technique. Bang! The Tao runes of the divine god of battle inside Qin Nan's body unleashed a terrifying force at the 8 demonic flames. Dodge! The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor sensed a great danger. He let out a roar and executed the escape art to escape from Qin Nan's flesh. Even so, he was still hit by the aftershock. His figure dimmed, and he couldn't help but groan a few times. Too dangerous, too dangerous. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's face turned pale. His gaze toward Qin Nan was no longer filled with excitement, but a lingering fear. If he was just a little slower, his existence as the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor would surely be erased from the world. 8 Brilliance, you're about to die, but you've got guts. Suddenly, an icy voice could be heard in the hall. Who are you? Who are you? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was astounded. His hair stood on end as he scanned his surroundings. He eventually noticed the red string on Qin Nan's wrist as he sensed something. His pupils suddenly shrank. Empress Feiyue? His voice trembled slightly. His reaction was on par with the reaction he had when he encountered the invisible force. The others might be clueless, but he would never forget how he kept harassing Empress Feiyue because of her beauty. In the end, he ended up being taught a great lesson. If he didn't react in time, he would suffer a fate worse than death. The copper mirror did not answer the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's question. She exclaimed when she noticed something strange about Qin Nan's body. Her divine sense went deeper into it too. The entire hall fell into a deathly silence. You brat. What is your identity? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's voice began to tremble. He had seen many formidable cultivators, yet he had never seen anyone like Qin Nan. I don't know either. Qin Nan's eyes flickered with golden flames. His face turned cold. Senior, you've broken your promise, so I won't go easy on you. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's soul was extremely weak after suffering a great blow. His strength and the heaven-shattering saber were more than enough to slay the man. Wait. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was given a great fright. It's a misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. Cultivator, please calm down. I'll swear a blood-soul oath that I'll bring you to the place of succession. Qin Nan let out a hollow laugh and said, Do you think I'm going to fall for it again? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor shuddered. His forehead was covered in cold sweat as he blurted out, Cultivator, the blood-soul oath is different from the immortal demon oath. It's able to bind the soul. Besides, there's something terrifying in your body, and you're Empress Feiyue's subordinate. I won't dare to touch you even if I have the guts to do so. But that place has 13 trees of immortal transformation. Qin Nan was startled. Trees of immortal transformation? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor chuckled when he saw the opportunity. You might not know, but the trees of immortal transformation are magical trees that can help people ascend as immortals. Even if you're an extraordinary peerless genius, it's more than enough for you to ascend as an immortal after refining 13 trees of immortal transformation. Besides, there are 3 powerful successions beside the trees of immortal transformation. He felt a pang in his heart after saying the words. He initially planned to claim the successions and the trees of immortal transformation for himself after refining Qin Nan. However, it was impossible for him to claim them under the circumstances. The trees of immortal transformation and the 3 powerful successions? Qin Nan's eyes flickered as he said, "All right, you can swear the oath now. I won't be fussy with you this time. If you dare to do such a thing again next time, don't blame me for being impolite." The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor nodded and swore a blood-soul oath. Just in case, Qin Nan flicked his finger and fired a talisman made of the Tao glow and the will of destruction into the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's body. With the talisman, he could easily take care of the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor even if he was up to something. He even knows how to use such a trick? That means the kid didn't let me out so easily because he's an idiot, but because he already had a backup plan. Who would have thought, even though I, the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor, have fallen into his trap again? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor murmured in his heart. He could feel his teeth aching as he said, "Come, I'll bring you there now." Qin Nan nodded and followed him out of the hall. Chapter 1620. The Immortal Ancient Ruins open again. Chapter 1628. Ancient Ruins. 10,000 zhang, immortal glow, such a strong smell of blood, how comfortable. A few hundred breaths later, the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor and Qin Nan flew away from the 3rd mountain. The former smelled the pungent smell of blood, and a look of enjoyment appeared on his face. He was obsessed with fresh blood. Why are there so many successions? Soon after, he saw that in the distant sky, there were hundreds of different phenomena, like hundreds of blooming flowers. Is the tree of immortal transformation here? Qin Nan asked immediately. The white-blue flower was the reason why so many successions had shown up in advance. If the tree of immortal transformation had shown up in advance too, it would not be good news. How is that possible? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor said with a disdainful look. The place where the tree of immortal transformation is located is one of the best places in the land of immortal death. It won't show up on its own even if the other successions have shown up. Alright, it's quite a distance away. Let's move out. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was a lot more obedient after learning Qin Nan's extraordinary background. He focused on leading the way instead of scheming anything. Time gradually passed. A day was gone in the blink of an eye. Along the way, Qin Nan collected all kinds of immortal herbs. He also activated the 10,000 Tao Immortal Badge to check on the situation outside. Apart from the 9 melodies departing river, the land of immortal death, the demon ruler mountain, and the world of yin and yang were all open too. Many cultivators and geniuses had entered the places. Only 11 immortal ancient places are left. Qin Nan murmured. Qin Nan, we're here. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor said. He had attached himself to a silver-gray skeleton that was missing an arm and an eye along the way. Its strength was equivalent to the 7th-layer Heaven God realm. It was not weak at all. Qin Nan raised his head. His eyes flickered with astonishment. In front of him was a plain filled with sparkling and translucent jade stones. In the surroundings there were many mountains rising from the ground. At the foot of the mountains, there were all kinds of ancient trees growing tall and majestic. Among them, on the most majestic mountain, there was a vast river of 7 colors surging down from the peak of the mountain. It was like a divine dragon soaring through the sky. Although the place did not seem to be anything special on the surface, Qin Nan's golden eyes of the divine god of battle managed to discover something. This kind of momentum was completely natural. It was made up of everything in this place, including every crystal on the ground. To put it simply, this place was either a place of extreme danger or a place of extreme bliss. I didn't expect your eye technique to be so powerful as well. You actually managed to see some clues. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor sharply noticed Qin Nan's unusual reaction. He chuckled, "This place is a deadly place. It's a lot scarier than the 7 deadly mountains. Once it's activated, it will kill as many cultivators as it can. Only 1 out of 10 will survive. But don't worry, this ominous ground hasn't been activated yet." Despite his calm appearance, he was actually feeling a little gloomy when he said the words. He initially planned to awaken some ominous grounds while Qin Nan was still clueless about the place. They would trap Qin Nan and give him an opportunity to escape. However, his plan had completely failed. The tree of immortal transformation is inside the biggest mountain. "Let's head there now," the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor said. He straightened his face as a thought crossed his mind. "Remember, once you've acquired the tree of immortal transformation, you're not allowed to go any deeper. Otherwise, even with your formidable background, you're still going to die." There was one more thing that he did not mention. He had failed to refine the land of immortal death because he had provoked the terrifying existence deep inside the tree of immortal transformation. Qin Nan nodded. "Got it." The two of them immediately turned into 2 streaks of light and entered the mountain. Unlike how it looked on the outside, after entering the mountain, there was a majestic and pure immortal intent entering one's body, causing one to unconsciously relax and feel very comfortable. Roar. At that instant, a beastly roar echoed in the woods. A giant tiger around 7 zhang tall with a fiery body and a pair of wings on its back with an ancient aura leapt out from an ancient tree and swung its sharp claws at Qin Nan and the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor. God runes intertwined with one another under the sharp claws, resulting in a shocking power. The giant tiger's cultivation was equivalent to the 9th layer Heaven God realm. "Hee, I won't be able to handle a beast like that. I'll leave it to you." The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor immediately backed away and hid behind Qin Nan. Even though the ominous ground had yet to be activated, the mountain was still filled with all kinds of dangers. The giant tiger was only the beginning. It went without saying that he would use the opportunity to wear out Qin Nan's strength. Qin Nan glanced at the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor. How could he not know what the Demon Emperor was thinking? Break. Qin Nan was too lazy to waste his time talking nonsense. He slashed forward and shattered the giant tiger into pieces without resorting to any trick. With his current cultivation, he would not be able to wear out his cultivation even if he were to come here over 100 times. After all, a 9th layer Heaven God realm beast was a lot weaker than a 9th layer Heaven God realm cultivator. Next, the two of them continued to move forward. Qin Nan was the one who dealt with all the beasts and traps that appeared in the area. Time trickled by until 2 hours had passed. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor saw a savage beast being slashed into pieces. He suddenly turned to the side as he noticed something. Huh? Why are the other 3 successions reacting? His eyes were filled with astonishment. After all, they hadn't done anything since they arrived at this place. These inheritances shouldn't have appeared. Qin Nan glanced around and saw immortal runes, rare phenomena, and formidable sword intents emerging from the other 3 mountains. Even though the aura wasn't that great, one could still sense a very vast aura from it. As the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor mentioned, the 3 places were no ordinary successions. Senior Demon Emperor, what are these 3 successions? Qin Nan asked immediately. Let me think, it should be an immortal formation succession, a martial art succession, and a sword art succession. The sword art succession seems to be the strongest one among the 3. I can. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor could not stop talking, as if he was a chatterbox. That won't be necessary. Qin Nan shook his head. Since the 3 successions were not suitable for him, other cultivators must have noticed them and were on their way here. There was no need for him to do anything. He could only focus on securing the trees of immortal transformation. Holy crap! Why are the trees of immortal transformation reacting too? Chapter 16:21. The cultivators have arrived. The cultivators have arrived. On the colorful river pouring down from the peak of the mountain, 13 immortal glows, each with a circumference of 1 zhang, floated in the air. Wisps of immortal intent surged across the mountain like a heavy rain. Qin Nan glanced around and clearly saw 13 magnificent auras slowly awakening in the river. Even with Qin Nan's current cultivation, he felt minuscule compared to the auras. Even though the trees of immortal transformation were only able to help a cultivator ascend as an immortal, the power and aura it possessed had significantly surpassed the heaven god realm. Don't tell me it's you, the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor collected his thoughts and glanced at Qin Nan with a doubtful look. There had been too many unexpected occurrences along the way. It did not make any sense at all. He had a feeling that Qin Nan had something to do with it. However, before he could finish, his bones shuddered violently. It felt like a pair of blood-red eyes had appeared out of nowhere and were staring at him, causing him to shiver in fear. Damn it, I almost forgot. You should be more careful later. The 13 trees of immortal transformation are guarded by terrifying beasts. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor said with a cautious look. Now that the trees of immortal transformation are reacting, the beasts will wake up and set their eyes on us. He added as a thought crossed his mind, we can only approach the trees of immortal transformation if we defeat them. Qin Nan glanced at him without saying a word. He flicked his finger and fired a wisp of destruction will into the river. F***K me, what are you doing? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor screamed. This guy dared to provoke the beasts instead of approaching them cautiously. Wouldn't he be digging his own grave if all the beasts were awakened? Roar, roar, roar. Just as he had expected, before he could finish speaking, a series of beastly roars exploded above his head like a series of heavenly thunder. Towering ancient trees crumbled one after another. The vast and solid earth trembled, and countless ripples appeared in the void. A large shadow loomed over them. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor shuddered. He subconsciously lifted his gaze and saw 19 enormous creatures floating above him and Qin Nan with icy gazes. Boom! The 19 different ferocious beasts began to attack at the same time. Their mountain-like beast claws slammed down at the two of them with dazzling divine light. These ferocious beasts were all peak heaven gods. On top of that, since they had been staying close to the trees of immortal transformation for a long time, their bodies had wisps of immortal intent. In other words, their attacks were many times stronger than an ordinary peak heaven god. Destruction Saber. Qin Nan's blood-red hair fluttered in the wind as his aura erupted. His figure was like a peerless swordsman. In an instant, an astonishing battle unfolded in mid-air. Boundless energy swept out in all directions like a storm. Qin Nan, you son of AB*****ch, the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor cursed. He immediately executed an outstanding escape art to weave through the woods miserably. If he did not dodge the attacks, the energy alone was enough to inflict great damage to him. His plan would be in vain. Skystride blow. Qin Nan ignored the words. He descended like an immortal and slashed the head of a ferocious beast with an unimaginable power. The other 18 ferocious beasts were infuriated. They executed various immortal arts as if they were going to fight for their lives. Humph, that's what you get for attacking so recklessly. Even if you've achieved the greater success stage of the Tao realm, your cultivation will still be weakened significantly when facing these 18 ferocious beasts. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor chuckled coldly in his heart. Once the battle came to an end, he would have a chance to escape from Qin Nan's control. Forbidden taboo flesh. At that instant, Qin Nan's aura skyrocketed, causing the rift within a few li to crack open. The 18 ferocious beasts suddenly became minuscule in front of him. They were no longer as strong as they were before. His cultivation has actually doubled? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's eyes flickered with astonishment. He had seen a lot of methods to improve his cultivation, but he felt like the one he was seeing was something that only the ancient factions that were fighting against the ancient taboo had. Could it be that Qin Nan was the successor of one of those ancient factions? Bang bang bang! A great battle took place once again. Qin Nan's figure soared into the sky as he executed the saber intense with a powerful will, slaying the 18 ferocious beasts one by one. Break! Qin Nan let out a roar as the crimson golden battle armor appeared. His battle intent skyrocketed once again. The saber intents he unleashed were even more terrifying. In the blink of an eye, 1, 2, 3. Soon, 18 ferocious beasts were all slashed into pieces, turning into a bloody mist that drifted down from the sky. Don't provoke me if you don't want to die. Qin Nan stood in the air. His body was emitting a sinister red glow as he spoke calmly. His voice spread to every corner on the mountain. The demon beasts that were originally filled with rage or were ready to attack seemed as if they had been doused with ice water, and they didn't dare move in the slightest. They lay prostrate on the ground and shivered. Senior Demon Emperor, let's go. Qin Nan kicked the ground and flew toward the 13 immortal glows. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor collected his thoughts and followed closely behind. As they were about to reach their destination, another force of resistance surged at them like a shocking wave. Qin Nan did not stop there. He slashed the heaven-shattering saber and shattered the force into pieces. The force of resistance was powerful, yet it could not unleash its full potential when it encountered the heaven-shattering saber. So these are the trees of immortal transformation? A few moments later, Qin Nan stepped into the river and came to a stop. Inside the colorful river were 13 trees around 30 zhang tall. Their trunks were like white jade, and their leaves were densely covered in immortal runes. Their auras were as deep as an abyss. They were rooted in the walls of the mountain. The immortal glow they were emitting was unbelievably pure. Even if Qin Nan did not refine them, he would still benefit greatly from the glow. It's been more than 1,000 years. These 13 trees of immortal transformation have fully grown. Not only will I be able to ascend as an immortal after refining them, I'll also be able to master some kind of immortal will or even plant seeds. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor followed behind. The flames in his eyes flickered vigorously. If he had a throat, he would be swallowing a few mouthfuls of saliva by now. Senior Demon Emperor, don't you dare try anything funny at a time like this. Qin Nan glanced at the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor. He reached out his hand after giving him a warning. Chapter 1622. Long Chan in the white robe. The branches that resembled giant snakes extended, as if they had come alive. The leaves with immortal runes danced in the air too. Wisps of immortal glow over 10,000 zhang tall burst out from the tree trunks. They penetrated the colorful river and soared into the clouds. The entire mountain peak was enveloped in this light. Qin Nan's eyes glittered. The reaction of the 3 extraordinary successions would only attract the attention of some cultivators, but now that the trees of immortal transformation were emitting such a brilliant glow, it was likely that most cultivators in the land of immortal death were aware of it. It would not take long for the cultivators to make their way here. Senior Demon Emperor, are you trying to get rid of me with the help of the other cultivators? Qin Nan glanced at the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor. The heaven-shattering saber in his hand buzzed. F***K me. Even though you have an extraordinary background, you can't just accuse me like that. How would I know the trees of immortal transformation would react like this? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was startled. He immediately complained. He was not lying to Qin Nan. He only wanted to weaken Qin Nan so he could escape from Qin Nan. After all, Qin Nan's identity was quite extraordinary, and he still had Empress Feyue's red string. If he tried to kill Qin Nan with a scheme, he would be in great trouble even if he managed to make it out alive. Forget it. Qin Nan pondered for a moment. He did not say anything further. He unleashed the god force in his body, which transformed into 13 giant hands grabbing at the trees of immortal transformation. At this point, he had no choice but to refine them before the other cultivators arrived. Buzz. To his surprise, the 13 trees of immortal transformation began to tremble all of a sudden. Around 30% of the branches rapidly turned pitch black, emitting a shocking evil aura, as if they had turned into snakes of hell. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The pitch-black branches sprang in Qin Nan's direction and slashed at him continuously. Not only that, the entire seven-colored river began to boil as armored knights over 50 zhang tall riding ferocious beasts appeared one after another and attacked Qin Nan. Both the branches and the knights possessed outstanding strength. Their strength was on par with the peerless geniuses on Qin Nan's level, who were executing their killing blows. Qin Nan, you can't blame me for not warning you. How could a treasure like the Tree of Immortal Transformation be so easy to obtain? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor said while dodging the attacks. Unstoppable step, Sky Desolation Saber Art. Qin Nan's figure immediately turned into a series of afterimages as he dove into the midst of the many branch knights and slashed out with saber intents. Meanwhile, he also glanced at the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor a few times. He was left speechless. If it weren't for the copper mirror, Qin Nan would not have believed the man was a peerless ruler after spending so much time with him. He was already a peerless ruler, yet why was he so petty? Meanwhile, in various corners of the land of immortal death, such a shocking immortal glow. There must be some extraordinary successions in that place. Another extraordinary legacy has appeared. Our chance has come. The immortal glow this time is different than the ones in the 7 mountains. It's surely not a dangerous place that's here to kill cultivators. The cultivators who were competing for the herbs, martial arts, cave dwellings, etc., were startled when they noticed the rare phenomenon ahead. They immediately headed into the distance without hesitation. Immortal glow, 3 other successions are awakening too. The place of succession this time is even more complicated than the previous ones. Inside an ancient palace, Gu Zhini, who was bathed in a colorful glow, had glittering eyes. It seems like it's my chance. On the top of another mountain, Long Chan, who was wearing a white monk robe and emitting a Bodhi glow with a calm aura, slowly opened his eyes. Amitabha, I believe the 2 mysterious cultivators in white robes will be here too. I'll have to pay them a visit this time. Long Chan murmured, even though Buddhas are merciful, there are also those who are enraged. They took away my succession and my opportunity to ascend as an immortal. I won't forgive them so easily. Apart from the 2 peerless geniuses, Su Xianji, the 2 mysterious cultivators in black robes, and a cultivator with a bronze-masked mask who had just entered the land of immortal death, were looking at the immortal glow. Without being exaggerating, the appearance of the immortal glow and the 3 successions had attracted the attention of almost 70% of the cultivators in the land of immortal death. Time gradually passed. 100 breaths later, inside the immortal glow, Qin Nan's figure was moving back and forth like a ray of light. The heaven-shattering saber in his hand was unpredictable too, as it slashed the knights into pieces one after another. In the battle just then, he realized that as long as the knights were still alive, the branches and leaves would regrow regardless of how many of them he killed. He would only stand a chance if he eliminated the knights first. Holy crap, these cultivators are crazy. Someone has already arrived at the valley so quickly. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor suddenly clicked his tongue. He had left a lot of seals along the way as a safety precaution, allowing him to keep track of everything that happened along the way. Qin Nan continued to unleash his shocking strength and destroyed the knights as if he did not hear anything. Time gradually passed. Another 100 breaths were gone fairly quickly. Qin Nan was still killing the knights. It did not take long for him to eliminate them all. However, unlike before, on the waist of the magnificent mountain stood a young man with a jade belt around his body and the word 11 on his forehead. He withdrew his aura and stood on a boulder like a statue. In his eyes, streaks of orange light flowed like water. His name was Han Tianxiao, the fourth-ranked inner disciple of the Heaven Illusionary Ancestor sect. His cultivation had reached the peak Heaven God realm, and he had mastered the three extremities. He also had an innate immortal root. It had been more than 20 breaths since he arrived. Such a shocking strength, even though I can't see it clearly due to the immortal glow, I can tell that he's an extraordinary peerless genius. Han Tianxiao was startled. Normally, he would run for his life and not dare to come online. However, he had just seen 13 eye-catching trees of immortal transformation with his eye technique. Those were the trees of immortal transformation. As an inner disciple of the Heaven Illusionary Ancestor sect, he clearly knew what they were. Even a single tree was enough for him to ascend as an immortal, let alone 13 of them. As such, he did not leave, but came up with a plan in his mind. Even if he had to fight an extraordinary peerless genius, he had to secure one of the trees of immortal transformation and ascend as an immortal. Finally, some cultivators are here. Han Tianxiao was overjoyed when he sensed something. He turned around and glanced in the direction of the voice. At the foot of the mountain, there were 5 cultivators in immortal robes. Their auras were like 5 divine swords as they tore through the void and approached them. The 5 cultivators were peak heaven gods too. They were from a faction led by a peerless ruler in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm. Cultivators, please wait a moment. Please use your eye technique and take a look at the top of the mountain. Han Tianxiao immediately appeared and sent a telepathic message. As long as we wait here and gather more cultivators, we will definitely. His plan was very simple. Before the peerless genius claimed the trees of immortal transformation, he would gather the cultivators and launch a sudden attack. As long as there were enough cultivators, the peerless genius would not be able to stop them all regardless of how strong he was. Time continued to tick by. More cultivators began to arrive from all directions in the land of immortal death. However, most of the cultivators did not dare to enter the mountain with the immortal glow after witnessing the rare phenomenon of the 7 mountains. They had gone to the other 3 successions instead. Despite that, many cultivators still made their way to the mountain with the immortal glow. Most of them had stumbled into Han Tianxiao before they started climbing the mountain, and were persuaded by him in the same way. At that moment, there were already 47 cultivators gathered around Han Tianxiao. Among them, 18 were peak heaven gods, 17 were heaven gods, and the rest were in the 8th layer earth god realm or above. It was quite a formidable lineup. "Brother Han, when are we going to make our move?" asked an impatient cultivator. "That's right, if we don't make our move soon, he's going to get rid of all the branches," agreed another cultivator. "Don't worry, I'm telling you, a peerless genius isn't that easy to deal with. We have to grab hold of the opportunity." Han Tianxiao rolled his eyes and continued to observe the situation. Deep inside the colorful river, Qin Nan's eyes glistened as he was fighting against the remaining branches, causing his figure to take a few steps backward. The branches suddenly unleashed a shocking aura. Layers of immortal glow circled them. If they were peerless swords just a moment ago, they were now powerful immortal swords. The branches began to grow stronger in the final moment. Sky stride blow. Qin Nan groaned and attacked once again. Han Tianxiao, who was halfway up the mountain, was overjoyed when he saw the scene. He said, "Fellow cultivators, let's attack together. It all depends on whether we can ascend as an immortal successfully." He was the first to unleash his aura and charge toward the top of the mountain. "Kill!" The remaining 40 cultivators unleashed their auras at the same time. Like a torrent of divine light, they followed closely behind Han Tianxiao. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor, who was initially enjoying Qin Nan's battle, shuddered. He immediately became enraged. Damn it, a bunch of heaven gods dares to attack me. Even though he said this, his footsteps were moving backwards without leaving a trace. He was overjoyed. O Qin Nan, even if you can resolve the danger easily, you will surely suffer serious injuries, right? You're pretty good at finding opportunities. Let's see if you have the guts to do so. Chapter 1623. Be besieged, the peerless genius noticed us. He threw out a saber in his hand. Let's back off at once. Han Tianxiao was the first to notice. With a shout, he retreated. The other cultivators did not dare to hesitate and immediately retreated a few hundred zhang away. Even a simple move from an extraordinary peerless genius was enough to make them cautious, not to mention the fact that he was using his artifact. Under the crowd's gaze, the heaven-shattering saber swept across the sky like a meteor and stabbed into the ground 80 zhang away from the crowd. An invisible saber force suddenly swept out. Bang bang bang! At that moment, the artifacts on Han Tianxiao and the other cultivators seemed to have been struck by some invisible force. They began to explode with a series of shocking sounds. Every single magic treasure, even half-immortal artifacts, was no exception. What magic treasure is this? Han Tianxiao and the other cultivators sucked in a breath of cold air. They had never seen such a strange treasure before. However, you want to stop us with just a saber? Han Tianxiao reacted quickly as a look of disdain flashed across his eyes. He then sent a voice transmission, "Everyone, there's no need to panic. It's just a saber. Let's go around the saber and fly over. No matter how powerful this saber is, it can't stop us." At this point, Han Tianxiao added, "This saber might have some sort of suppression on Dharma treasures, temporarily sealing all Dharma treasures." The other cultivators collected their thoughts too. The astonishment in their eyes disappeared. Just as Han Tianxiao had said, it was just a saber. Even if it was a peerless Tao weapon, there was no need for them to panic without a master controlling it. Go! Han Tianxiao once again emitted divine light. With a flash of his body, he circled around and attempted to fly to the peak from another direction. However, when he was 30 kilometers away from Qin Nan to 997 m away from Qin Nan, his pupils suddenly constricted, and his body froze as if it had been sealed in ice. What is this?" His voice began to tremble. At that instant, he had sensed a murderous aura and a saber intent. A murderous aura that felt like it had covered the entire world, and a terrifying saber intent that felt like it could destroy everything. He immediately had a feeling that if he were to take another step forward, he would die here. He wasn't the only one. The dozens of cultivators behind him were in the same situation. "Han Tianxiao, what are you up to?" The cultivators behind him frowned. Don't come any closer." Han Tianxiao took a step. Qin Nan's mind. Qin Nan, what are you trying to do? That guy is going to get rid of the branches soon. If you're scared, we'll make a move. The faces of the cultivators behind turned cold when they heard this, and they flew up together. However, when they had only flown a few feet away, their pupils constricted together. Some of the cultivators with lower cultivations even paled and their faces were filled with fear. How shocking was the murderous aura and the saber! If they continued to advance, they would definitely die here. Kami, you don't even dare to move? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was astounded. He could not believe his eyes. As a peerless ruler, he could easily tell that Qin Nan had merged his murderous aura and his will into the strange saber. In other words, he was using his aura to intimidate the cultivators. Everyone, don't panic, the saber is only trying to trick us. Besides, it's only its aura, not its true power. A peak heaven god finally collected his thoughts. He clenched his teeth and said, "If we go now, the saber won't be able to do anything to us." The other two peak heaven gods immediately said, "That's right, let's go." The other cultivators were slightly convinced, yet they still did not dare to move. The three peak heaven gods shook their heads. They exchanged glances with one another and secretly executed an immortal art before taking a step forward. If the others did not dare to move, they would do it. If anything happened, they could lend a hand. Bang! Just as their feet landed on the ground, three terrifying saber chees slashed at the three of them like three heavenly rivers. Crap! The expressions of the three cultivators changed drastically. However, apart from a cultivator who had mastered an ancient escape art, the other two peak heaven gods did not even have time to react. Their immortal arts were shattered into pieces as soon as they executed them. This, regardless of whether it was Han Tianshao or the other cultivators, their hearts were in turmoil. They were initially inclined to believe what the three cultivators had said, but after witnessing the scene, they were utterly shocked. They were not wrong about what they thought. The saber was able to slay gods. A saber that no one is controlling is able to kill two heaven gods. It's indeed extraordinary. However, I don't believe you can slash it a third time. A young man in a black robe said with a hoarse voice. Go! He took out a faint blue talisman and crushed it into pieces. An incomparably majestic teleportation force immediately landed on his body, causing his figure to disappear from the spot. He activated a teleportation talisman and was about to teleport himself away. I almost forgot about that. The eyes of Han Tianshao and the rest of the peak heaven gods glittered. Bang! However, in the nick of time, another terrifying saber intent appeared and shattered the astounded cultivator in a black robe into pieces. The entire mountain forest fell into a deathly silence. Every thought in their minds vanished. No one dared to move in front of the saber. Holy crap, that kid even knows how to use it. He left some god force in the saber to execute a few moves to kill a few heaven gods. That way the others would be scared. Even if someone guessed it, they wouldn't dare to attack recklessly. The Eight Brilliance Demon Emperor clicked his tongue in amazement. As expected of the peerless genius who had mastered the Tao crystal. His moves reminded him of what he had done in the past. Time passed by slowly. Even though Qin Nan had unleashed a significant amount of god force, his strength was still outstanding. He shattered the branches one by one until only 30 of them were left. Meanwhile, an eerie sight was taking place at the waist of the mountain. Many cultivators had arrived during this period of time. Han Tianshao and the others had expanded their formation to around 100 people. However, the cultivators were all standing in front of the saber. No one dared to take a step forward. They watched Qin Nan shatter the branches with their own eyes. The reason being that every time a cultivator noticed the eerie atmosphere, they would ask about it and be told the truth. However, when they were intimidated by the aura and saw the three corpses, they immediately gave up on the thought. They did not have the courage to challenge the moves of an extraordinary peerless genius. There are only 3 branches left. A cultivator suddenly blurted out. Everyone immediately glanced in the direction of the voice and saw a figure throwing a punch in the immortal glow, shattering another branch into pieces. There were only 2 branches left. What a bunch of trash! How could you all be intimidated by such a simple move? You don't even dare to take a step forward in front of an ownerless saber. At this moment, a thunderous voice exploded in the forest. Following it, Gu Zheni arrived from the distance. Peerless genius Gu Zheni? Han Tianshao and many other cultivators were shocked. At the same time, their eyes lit up. If Gu Zheni was here, the saber would surely be able to break through the barrier. If Gu Zheni were to fight the extraordinary peerless genius, wouldn't they have a chance to reap the benefits? Brother, I'm borrowing your life. Despite Gu Zheni's words, he could tell how extraordinary the heaven-shattering saber was. He did not attack right away. He grabbed an Earth God Realm cultivator and tossed him forward. The Earth God Realm cultivator's face was filled with terror. Before he could utter a cry, he was shattered into pieces by the saber glow. "I believe you won't be able to hurt me now." Guzhini's aura rose as he placed his hands behind him. Ripples of immortal glow appeared under his feet as he stepped forward at a shocking pace like a peerless emperor. Whoosh! Suddenly, a piercing sound could be heard. The heaven-shattering saber unleashed wisps of destruction will and the will of the divine god of battle, as if it was being controlled by an invisible saber saint. "There's another saber intent in it." Guzhini's eyes glittered. He performed a hand seal and threw it forward. At that instant, a few hundred illusionary spears over 50 zhang long appeared in the air. Their sharp auras surged across the area within 10 li bang. Meanwhile, Qin Nan's blood hair drifted in the wind as he swept his leg forward. The last 2 branches came to a stop before shattering into pieces. The 13 trees of immortal transformation seemed to be aware of what was about to happen. Each of their branches and leaves emitted a strong immortal glow, as if they were unwilling to accept the outcome. "You are the trees of immortal transformation, born from the heavens and earth. Your job is to help people become immortals. Since you've helped me become an immortal, I won't let you down." Qin Nan's eyes emitted a golden flame as a wisp of Tao glow appeared on his forehead. The 13 trees of immortal transformation shuddered slightly. Following it, their branches and leaves danced even more vigorously. "It seems like I'll have to subdue you with brute force." "Excuse me." Qin Nan frowned. He immediately summoned 13 giant hands and grabbed at the 13 trees of immortal transformation. Bang! An invisible force appeared out of nowhere and encapsulated the trees of immortal transformation without any sign. No matter how powerful his giant hand was, it couldn't move forward at all. Qin Nan was startled. He did not expect the 13 trees of immortal transformation to be protected by something mysterious apart from the branches and the knights. Chapter 1624. The Ancient Runes Rumble. The peak of the mountain began to shake vigorously all of a sudden. It felt like 13 giant hands were grabbing at the 13 enormous trees of immortal transformation and pulling them out from the walls. The colorful river flowing down began to boil vigorously. Hundreds of thousands of roots of different lengths spread across the rift like a giant immortal net. Qin Nan, the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor, Guzhini, Han Tianshao, and the rest of the cultivators were confused. Why did the trees of immortal transformation suddenly appear? Are those the trees of immortal transformation? 13 of them? Meanwhile, the other 3 places of succession, forests, mountains, and valleys, as well as the entrance to the peerless danger ground. The 2 mysterious cultivators in white robes, Long Chan, and the rest of the cultivators who had arrived a long time ago or had just arrived were astounded. Buzz buzz buzz. The sound of immortal sabers being pulled out echoed in everyone's ears. Under the crowd's gaze, the mysterious runes on the 13 tree trunks emitted a blinding glow as the 13 enormous trees of immortal transformation merged with one another. Bang! In an instant, an incomparably vast power, like a peerless punch, punched countless cracks in the vast sky. A towering tree over 199 zhang tall with countless strange runes circling its body, its branches, leaves, and roots extended over 5 li and landed on the peak of the mountain. Wisps of pure immortal intent surged across the mountain and spread to every corner of the peerless danger ground. The tree of immortal transformation with the ancient runes? According to the rumors, not only can one ascend as an immortal after refining the tree, one can also experience the vicissitudes of time. Even the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was astounded. His face was filled with astonishment. Ascend as an immortal? A great shock took place in Qin Nan's heart. Such a shocking immortal intent. Even though Guzhini, Long Chan, the two mysterious cultivators, and the rest of the cultivators were clueless about the origin of the tree of immortal transformation with the ancient runes, they were well aware of one thing. When the 13 trees of immortal transformation merged with one another, it would surely evolve. Shwa shwa shwa. Meanwhile, a dragon-like sword intent soared into the 9 clouds from the other 3 extraordinary successions. An immortal Tao formation and a rare phenomenon of the vermilion bird formation appeared simultaneously. Even though their auras and immortal glow were not as strong as the tree of immortal transformation with ancient runes, they were still extremely magnificent. They covered at least a third of the danger ground. The 3 extraordinary successions have been fully unlocked. The cultivators were astounded once again. They felt like they had stumbled into a peerless land of treasure after witnessing the rare phenomena twice in a row. Collect. Qin Nan was the first to react. He leaped into the air and grabbed with his big hand. He was the closest person to this tree of immortal transformation with ancient law markings. At the same time, he had also attacked the 13 trees of immortal transformation many times. As a result, his figure was shrouded in a dense immortal light. Everyone could only feel his unparalleled aura, but they could not see his face. Even that dark red killing light could not be seen or sensed. Huh! In the nick of time, Qin Nan suddenly noticed something. His golden eyes glanced at the walls where the 13 trees of immortal transformation were located. After the trees of immortal transformation left, 13 enormous caves were revealed. The caves were pitch black and immeasurable, with an invisible force. However, with his eye technique, Qin Nan sharply captured a ripple similar to a teleportation formation. These 13 caves are most likely the terrifying depths that the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor mentioned. Once we provoke the things inside, we're most likely going to die. The thought crossed Qin Nan's mind before he withdrew his gaze. Baldy Long and 2 others, this man's cultivation is quite extraordinary. He might be a peerless genius who has probed the Tao realm. Why don't we team up and suppress him first? On the mountainside below, Guzhini immediately transmitted his divine sense. Even though he was quite proud and imperious, and would never team up with others, he did not dare to act recklessly in such a crucial moment. Not interested. The 2 mysterious cultivators in white robes who had just set foot in the land of danger replied coldly. They turned into 2 rays of light pointing at Qin Nan like immortal swords. Guzhini's eyes flickered coldly. As a peerless genius of a supreme Taoism faction, since when was he treated like this? Ba, Brother Gu, I'll team up with you. Leave the 2 mysterious cultivators to me. Long Chan placed his palms together. His eyes emitted a Bodhi glow. His aura became overwhelming too, causing many cultivators to tremble in fear. The gate of killing was opened, the flesh of the guardian warrior. Guzhini, Long Chan, and the 2 mysterious cultivators in white robes are making their moves. The cultivators immediately collected their thoughts. Several thoughts crossed their minds. None of the people present were fools. They could see that the peerless treasure land before them had gathered so many cultivators that it had already formed a huge scene. Besides, the appearance of the 3 successions and the mysterious tree of immortal transformation implied that a real chance to ascend as an immortal was right in front of them. Let's compete for the tree of immortal transformation. Han Tianxiao, the cultivators beside him, and the 900 cultivators in the distance made up their minds. Even though 5 peerless geniuses had already entered the place, they still had a chance to claim the tree of immortal transformation if they were to seize the opportunity. Peerless geniuses were only peerless geniuses. It did not necessarily mean they were undefeatable. In comparison, the cultivators who had already made their way to the 3 extraordinary successions, the thousands of cultivators, and the cultivators that were still on their way had set their eyes on the 3 extraordinary successions. They were extremely interested in the tree of immortal transformation, but there was only one of it. Apart from competing with the peerless geniuses, they still had to compete with the other cultivators. It was extremely unlikely that they would be able to claim the tree of immortal transformation. It was better for them to enter the 3 extraordinary successions. Even if they were unable to claim the strongest succession, they would still be able to acquire other benefits. At that instant, the entire nameless land of danger began to tremble. Countless cultivators executed a series of shocking immortal arts for the sake of claiming their respective successions. Strong gusts of wind surged in all directions, as if a shocking battle was taking place. Such a scene could be described as grand. I don't care if you're the tree of immortal transformation or the tree of immortal transformation with ancient principle runes, you won't be able to stop my will. On the top of the mountain, Qin Nan gathered his will and Dao glow on his hand as if he was unaware of the powerful auras approaching him rapidly. He flicked his finger. That formless power could no longer be blocked. The runes and branches on the tree of immortal transformation with ancient principle runes emitted a brilliant glow, yet they still failed to stop the force. Chapter 1625. Ascending as an immortal on the spot, sword art of twin lives as immortals. Meanwhile, the 2 mysterious cultivators in white robes arrived. Their bodies and minds were like deities descending upon the world. Each of them had a huge silver sword in their sleeve. They slashed at Qin Nan with shocking sword glows. Most strangely, they could only see a single sword glow from afar. Does this sword art belong to that place? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was startled. He subconsciously backed away. Even though the tree of immortal transformation with ancient principle runes was very attractive to him, he knew he no longer had a chance. The battle was about to take place. He had to find a chance to escape. Sky desolating saber art. Qin Nan seemed to have expected it. He executed the slash with all his might. He already knew the 2 cultivators were no ordinary cultivators when he first came to the land of immortal death. 8 Brilliance, stop them for now. Once I've refined the tree of immortal transformation with ancient principle runes, I'll give you the benefits I promised. Qin Nan suddenly said. What benefits? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was startled. He immediately felt a chill running down his spine. The 2 mysterious cultivators in white robes glanced at Qin Nan coldly. Following it, a few hundred sword glows formed a few hundred sword formations looming over Qin Nan. Qin Nan, you piece of shit! The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's jaw twitched. The guy had already achieved the greater success stage of the Dao realm with such a formidable background, yet he was still using such a trick? Brothers, please don't misunderstand, I have nothing to do with him. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor blurted out as he was nullifying the sword formations. He was well aware of the 2 mysterious cultivators' background. He would suffer great losses if he were to fight them with his current cultivation. The 2 mysterious cultivators completely ignored him. They continued to attack the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor fiercely while dealing with Qin Nan, leaving the latter with a gloomy expression. Gu Zhini, Long Chan, and the rest of the cultivators will be here soon. I should start refining the tree now. When the battle broke out, Qin Nan immediately multitasked and used a portion of his spirit will to communicate with the mark on the tree of immortal transformation. Wisps of immortal glow burst out of his forehead, shoulders, chest, waist, and other body parts. From afar, he looked as if he had truly ascended to immortality. Not only that, an ancient will blew into the depths of his mind like a gale. At this time, the mountain, or even the entire danger grounds, was a grand scene, but Qin Nan was strangely quiet, as if he was isolated from the world. Many mysteries arose spontaneously in his heart. I see. No wonder this tree is called the Tree of Immortal Transformation. Qin Nan's mind was stirred. In that instant, he understood a lot. When he killed the branches and the knights, he had truly subdued the tree of immortal transformation. The reason why the trees of immortal transformation fused together and transformed into the trees of immortal transformation with ancient law markings was because of this. It was mainly because it was trying to create a grand scene. There were two conditions that a peerless genius had to fulfill if he wanted to ascend as an immortal. First, he had to have enough heaven god force, and second, he had to create a grand scene. As I said before, if you help me ascend as an immortal, I won't disgrace the name of the tree of immortal transformation. It was as if Qin Nan's gaze was staring right into the soul of the giant tree. Whoosh! The leaves of the enormous tree suddenly turned crystal clear. They detached themselves from the branches and turned into a rain of light before entering Qin Nan's limbs and bones at a shocking pace. Countless immortal runes instantly covered Qin Nan's body. Streams of pure energy, like ancient dragons, poured into the divine power in his body. In addition to that, wisps of clear immortal intent penetrated the illusionary barrier and merged with his soul. Ascending as an immortal did not only require the god force in his body to evolve into immortal force. His soul had to evolve into an immortal soul too. Many cultivators were unable to ascend as an immortal because their immortal soul was stuck. Under normal circumstances, the only way to evolve was to comprehend the immortal soul. Other successions could not help them. It was the reason why the tree of immortal transformation was so special. It could allow someone to ascend as an immortal. Trying to ascend as an immortal on the spot? Do you think I, Guzheni, am not here? A thunderous voice exploded in the air. Guzheni's hair stood on its end. His figure was engulfed in a red glow. He drew a golden spear over 30 zhang long from the rift and tossed it at Qin Nan. Ami, Buddha. Long Chan, who was approaching from the distance, uttered a chant and placed his palms together. A glaring warrior bathed in a Bodhi glow immediately appeared. It threw a terrifying palm forward following the golden spear. Kill! Han Tianshao and the rest of the cultivators came from the side of the mountain. They immediately executed a series of immortal arts at Qin Nan without hesitation. They clearly knew that even if the peerless geniuses were going to inflict serious injuries on both sides, they had to stop the mysterious genius first. If he successfully refined the spear and ascended as an immortal, all their efforts would be in vain. K-me. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was even more dispirited when he saw one of his ribs being shattered. He even had the urge to curse Qin Nan's ancestors. He was only trying to escape. Was it really that difficult? Great timing. Seeing the overwhelming attacks, the golden flames in Qin Nan's eyes grew stronger as his blood-red hair danced wildly in the wind. Sky-stride blow. Even though he was under great pressure, he did not back off. He vanished into thin air and reappeared in front of Guzheni all of a sudden. He slashed forward. True scriptures of ultimate life Tao. Guzheni's eyes widened. He immediately executed the supreme Tao scriptures that he practiced without hesitation. A shocking aura burst out of his body. Several ultimate life runes appeared on his back. Compared to Little Peng Emperor Wan Shao, Zhao Lijian, and the others, Guzheni's cultivation was obviously stronger. Even though there was no clear distinction between the peerless geniuses of the supreme Taoism factions were usually stronger than the other peerless geniuses. Even if an art of Tao seeking only had a general outline, it still made a huge difference whether someone had learned it or not. White/flying spirit. Qin Nan performed a hand seal. Meanwhile, he quickly observed the battle and sensed the immortal arts coming at him from all directions. He immediately executed the unstoppable step to weave through them. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Chapter 1626. Battle Rune Dao Core Chapter 1634 Battle Rune Dao Core Bang Bang Bang. A series of explosions rang out one after another. The branches turned into wisps of immortal glow after landing on Qin Nan's body. They broke into pieces. On the surface, it seemed like Qin Nan had suffered a great blow. However, both Gu Zhini, Long Chan, the peerless geniuses, and the rest of the cultivators clearly sensed wisps of pure energy entering Qin Nan's body. A wisp of aura burst out of Qin Nan's body. At this point, his soul was only one step away from transforming into an immortal soul. The divine power in his body had begun to transform into immortal power bit by bit. In other words, he was going to ascend as an immortal in no time. Long Chan and the two of you, don't hold back. Use your full strength and suppress him at this time. Gu Zhini immediately let out a roar. True scriptures of Bodhi of the Buddhas. Long Chan performed a hand seal without any hesitation. He immediately expanded and turned into a giant golden Buddha over 390 zhang tall. Wisps of Bodhi glow lit up the surroundings. The atmosphere in the vast void became solemn and solemn. The two mysterious cultivators in white robes exchanged glances with one another. A strange Tao aura burst out of their bodies. Thousands of silver rays appeared behind them like immortal sparrows spreading their feathers. Even though they were not disciples of a supreme Taoism faction, they had learned the general outline of the art of Tao seeking from a nine heavens supreme. Art of God linking execution. Song of Moon inquiry. Heaven-shaking spike. Han Tianshao and the cultivators that had arrived did not choose to be a bystander. They executed their strongest arts and attacked Qin Nan from all directions. They were well aware of the situation. The mysterious peerless genius was only a step away from ascending as an immortal. If they didn't stop him now, then this mysterious genius would successfully ascend to immortality, and all their plans would be for naught. If they succeeded, they would still have a chance to obtain the strongest part of the mysterious tree of immortal transformation. Even though there were no more leaves or branches, with this tree trunk, it would be more than enough for them to become immortals. Damn it, I don't care anymore. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's bones trembled when he saw the overwhelming murderous intent. He immediately performed a hand seal and turned into a puff of demonic smoke that floated into the distance. It was too dangerous here. Even if Qin Nan found trouble with him later, he had to start running now. As for Qin Nan, who was in the middle of this storm, he felt as if the entire sky was about to collapse. Even though his cultivation was outstanding, he was still under great pressure when he had to face the 4 peerless geniuses and many cultivators while multitasking. Skystride Strike. Qin Nan dodged the immortal arts with a flicker. He held the heaven-shattering saber and slashed at the 2 mysterious cultivators in white robes. The 2 cultivators in white robes had already seen the move before, thus they were already prepared for it. They shoved their right hands forward, summoning a giant silver flower. The flower had an eerie appearance. Its stamen contained a shocking murderous intent. Qin Nan ignored the attack. The heaven-shattering saber continued to slash at the stamen. We've been tricked. The 2 cultivators in white robes performed hand seals to continue their attack. However, in the nick of time, their hair stood on end as 2 shocking saber intents burst out from their bodies. It was the 4th form of the divine god of battle, death upon the area. Bodhi kingdom with a palm, Bodhi is eternal. The giant golden Buddha that Long Chan had transformed into was standing behind Qin Nan. He swung his palm forward, encapsulating Qin Nan with a Bodhi glow. Following it, the illusionary figure of a towering tree appeared between the heavens and earth. The tree was the Bodhi tree. Most of the time, the Bodhi tree was extremely ordinary. It was not even considered one of the 9 heavens' mystical trees. However, the Bodhi tree that Long Chan had summoned was nothing ordinary. It was the eternal Bodhi tree. According to the rumors, no matter what the world had become, it would remain forever. It had ignored the passage of time and all the changes. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Han Tianxiao and the rogue cultivators executed their immortal arts once again. They poured down at Qin Nan like a raging tide. Ultimate life forgetfulness seal. Gu Zhini broke free from the illusionary spirit. He unleashed a shocking aura like an ancient general and executed a terrifying seal. It slammed into the Bodhi glow together with the immortal arts. Qin Nan was trapped by the Bodhi glow and suppressed by the eternal Bodhi tree. He could not move for some time. He could only watch the attacks land on him. Bang! A huge explosion shook the place. Qin Nan's body was instantly covered in wounds. He was completely covered in blood. Even the crimson-golden battle armor was dyed red. All the cultivators present could clearly sense that the terrifying aura that caused them to tremble in fear was receding like the tide. "We've defeated him." Han Tianxiao and the rest of the cultivators were overjoyed. Even with the help of the immortal herbs, he would not be able to recover in a short time. He would not be able to ascend as an immortal. Whoosh! Right at this moment, two beams of silver light flew out like flood dragons, circling around the incomparably huge tree trunk, twisting down layer by layer. The two mysterious cultivators in white robes had resolved the danger. They were planning to claim the tree trunk with brute force. "You've taken it away last time. Why would I let you get away with it this time?" Long Chan swung the Bodhi palm at the two cultivators. Gu Zhini, Han Tianxiao, and the rest of the cultivators were about to make their moves too. Whoosh! In that instant, a dazzling saber light tore apart the enormous Buddha light and the illusory figure of the eternal Bodhi tree. The saber chi also shredded the two beams of silver light into countless pieces. Following it, an immortal figure sprang into the sky and landed on the giant tree trunk. How did he recover from such serious injuries in an instant? The eyes of the two mysterious cultivators in white robes, Long Chan and Gu Zhini, widened. However, they soon collected their thoughts and charged at Qin Nan from different directions while executing their attack. Too late. The golden flames in Qin Nan's eyes turned into immortal flames. The formidable force inside his body that was encapsulated in immortal glows surged at Qin Nan's body like an erupting volcano. "The immortal soul has been formed. I've ascended as an immortal." Qin Nan performed a hand seal. A strong immortal intent burst out of his body and soared into the sky. The sky within a radius of tens of thousands of miles turned pitch black. Chapter 1627. Taking the risk, someone is ascending as an immortal? Such a rare phenomenon. Could it be a peerless genius ascending as an immortal? The cultivators at the other three successions raised their heads and looked at the shocking figure at the top of the tallest mountain. Their eyes were filled with envy while their hearts were filled with astonishment. The land of immortal death was only the first immortal ancient place that they had entered. Even an ordinary peak heaven god would struggle to ascend as an immortal, let alone a peerless genius. There was no need to guess. It was obvious that this mysterious figure had obtained the mysterious tree of immortal transformation. Crap! The two mysterious men in white robes, Gu Zhini, Long Chan, and the rest of the cultivators were startled. The speed at which the figure was ascending to the human immortal realm had exceeded their imagination. "The kid is going to rise." The Eight Brilliance Demon Emperor, who had fled into the distance, exclaimed upon seeing this. Ascending as an immortal from the god realm was a huge milestone, not to mention the kid's background and the martial arts he had mastered. He was surely going to achieve the Nine Heavens' supreme realm in the future. The whole place fell silent. Qin Nan had become the only thing in the world. His flesh, divine sense, and the divine battle spirit deep inside his body reacted at the same time, as if they were going to evolve at the same time. In addition to it, several crystal-clear immortal flowers with brilliant immortal glows emerged from the stormy clouds and formed a huge ocean of flowers within the blink of an eye. There would be rare phenomena when someone was ascending as an immortal. When ordinary heaven gods were ascending as an immortal, immortal glows would fill the sky. Only when a peerless genius was ascending as an immortal would there be rare phenomena. Qin Nan had refined the tree of immortal transformation with ancient principal runes, thus he had triggered the immortal flowers. Tao crystal. Qin Nan groaned in his heart. He was not just a peerless genius, he had already achieved the greater success stage of the Tao realm. Once his cultivation reached the human immortal realm, he would be considered an exceptional genius. However, that was not the only rare phenomenon he was about to trigger. However, as soon as the Tao crystal was activated, the divine battle Tao runes on his bones suddenly emitted blinding Tao glows. Qin Nan was slightly taken aback. He suddenly had a bad premonition. When he first encountered the 13 trees of immortal transformation, he didn't expect to successfully ascend to immortality. However, when he encountered the immortal ascension tree with ancient law runes, he finally had the thought of ascending to immortality. He would definitely ascend to immortality. This iron law would not be broken by him, right? Whoosh! As if to prove his thoughts, each of his bones seemed to have turned into a huge abyss. They burst out with a shocking suction force and absorbed wisps of pure energy from the energy that was about to turn into immortal force. That ball of energy also gradually began to reveal a divine light. What happened? Why is the phenomenon fading away? His immortal intent is dissipating too. The two mysterious cultivators in white robes, Long Chan, Guzhini, and the rest of the cultivators were stunned by the sudden change. They had never seen such a situation before, nor had they read about it in the ancient books. Holy crap, what exactly does this kid have in his body? Even the iron law of the tree of immortal transformation with ancient law runes is about to be broken by him? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was given a great fright. In his heart, he would rather Qin Nan succeed in ascending to immortality. The others might not know what was going on, but he was well aware of the significance behind it. It's all absorbed. Qin Nan focused his attention on his body. After achieving the martial monarch realm and the martial god realm, even though he did not expect such a rare occurrence, he did not panic either. He was surprisingly calm instead. He only wanted to see what the divine battle Tao runes were up to after absorbing the energy from the tree of immortal transformation with ancient law runes. Bang! After every bone absorbed all the energy, they suddenly unleashed a tremendous amount of energy that struck his heart. Even Qin Nan felt a great pain. His vision darkened as he almost fainted. Gasp! He took a deep breath. He endured the pain and took a closer look. To everyone's astonishment, lines of the divine battle Tao runes began to spread from his heart too. In addition to it, the divine battle Tao runes were spreading on his other 4 and 6 organs too. However, when the divine battle Tao runes spread out from his heart, they slowly stopped as if they did not have enough energy. Qin Nan, I've learned from the heavenly scroll that this is a kind of Tao inheritance art. I believe the divine god of battle has left you with the great Tao he has mastered. The copper mirror's voice immediately appeared in Qin Nan's mind. No matter how great the succession you stumble into is, you must learn all the Tao runes first. Once you ascend as an immortal, you'll be able to learn the Tao of the divine god of battle. The golden flames in Qin Nan's eyes flickered vigorously after hearing the words. His speculation turned out to be right. He would be able to acquire the Tao of the divine god of battle after merging with the flesh of the divine god of battle. Thanks. Qin Nan transmitted his thought. He immediately fixed his gaze on the trunk. The branches and leaves that merged with his body were already able to evolve the divine battle Tao runes to such an extent. If he refined the trunk, he would be able to refine the rest of the divine battle Tao runes. Double swords sealing the heavens. At this moment, countless silver-white sword lights intertwined above his head, wrapping him up layer after layer like a sword cocoon. Long Chan and Gu Zhini followed closely behind. The will of Bodhi and the will of ultimate life attacked simultaneously. Han Tianxiao and the rest of the rogue cultivators collected their thoughts and made their moves too. I almost forgot about them. Qin Nan was no longer multitasking. The battle blood in his body boiled vigorously against the formation, yet his mind remained calm. He performed a hand seal while activating his eye technique. He noticed that several cultivators were making their way to the mountain at the same time. It was obvious that many cultivators had changed their minds after he had almost ascended as an immortal. After all, he had yet to refine the trunk, which was the most important part. The trunk is different from the branches and leaves. It won't come to me on its own. I can only refine it myself. If I were to fight them, they would surely exhaust me to death with my god force. Besides, since I've subdued the will of the tree, they won't fight among themselves before I'm defeated. The thought crossed Qin Nan's mind. He had been forced into a corner without realizing it. He only had two choices. He could either be exhausted to death by the cultivators or give up on the trunk and leave. Chapter 1628. The Shattering of the Heavens and Earth. Chapter 1636. Shattering of the Heavens and Earth. The shattering of the heavens and earth. The land of danger had yet to show any sign of danger, as it had yet to be activated. However, the thing inside the 13 black holes was the most terrifying existence in the place. Once it was provoked, it would surely awaken the whole place. If Qin Nan were to do it, he would surely be able to break free from the pursuit of the cultivators. He would also have a chance to leave with the trunk. However, it was more likely that he would die here too. Seeking victory in the midst of danger, seeking life in the midst of death. I've obtained such an incredible fortunate encounter, thus I'm planning to embark on a path that ordinary people won't be able to take. How could I not give it a try? The thought crossed Qin Nan's mind as he made up his mind. Cultivator, why are you still holding on? If you insist on being stubborn, don't blame me for killing all of you. Gu Zhini snapped. In his opinion, it was meaningless for the peerless genius to keep fighting. He would only be digging his own grave and wasting the god force in his body. Fellow cultivators, I won't give up on the trunk. You should all back off now. If you insist on fighting for it, don't blame me for awakening the land of danger. Qin Nan's figure flickered as he wore a stern expression. You're asking us to back off? Gu Zhini, Long Chan, the two mysterious cultivators in white robes, and the rest of the cultivators were startled. They could not help but feel ridiculous. They were currently in an advantageous position. Where did this peerless genius get the confidence to ask them to back off? Was he trying to awaken the land of danger? The place they were currently in already had 13 trees of immortal transformation and 3 extraordinary successions. It was no longer a land of danger, but a land of treasures. Are you trying to send us away with just a few words? Do you think we're idiots? It's your decision. I won't waste my time talking nonsense with you. Gu Zhini was infuriated. He unleashed the god force in his body and summoned several ultimate life seals as he prepared to attack. The other cultivators grinned coldly too. As Gu Zhini had mentioned, did he really think they were idiots? Qin Nan, what did you say? You want to trigger this peerless danger zone? Are you crazy? Wait, if you want to trigger it, wait for me to leave this place first. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor who had fled into the distance was given a great fright. His voice was filled with terror. However, before he could finish his words, Qin Nan's eyes instantly turned resolute. At this point, there was no other way. In the nick of time, he executed the sky-stride blow to dodge the immortal art. He then executed a backhand slash, firing 13 saber intents into the cave. Qin Nan, you bastard! The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor let out a furious roar upon seeing this. he immediately executed a forbidden art to flee at his fastest speed. You're still echoing each other? I'm only inserting a stream of saber chi into the cave, yet it still managed to trigger. Gu Zhenyi's eyes flickered with disdain. As a peerless genius of the extreme living gate, what kind of forbidden ground had he not seen before? Even if this place was a peerless danger zone, a mere stream of saber chi was not going to trigger it. However, just as he said this, he suddenly felt something. His pupils shrunk to the size of needles and trembled violently. In addition to him, Long Chan and the two mysterious cultivators in white robes were startled too. They quickly backed away. Bang, bang, bang. At that instant, it felt like hundreds of lightning bolts had struck the place. From the 13 black holes, blood-red demonic hands that were over 300 feet long suddenly stretched out and slammed into the mountain, causing it to shatter. Cracks spread out and the mountain shook violently. It felt like a gate of an abyss had slowly opened. A terrifying aura burst out from it and immediately surged across the entire place. Everyone felt like a bucket of cold water had been poured over their heads. What's going on? In addition to the cultivators on the tallest mountain, the cultivators in the other 3 extraordinary legacies all turned pale as they looked up at the scene. Whoosh! It felt like a heaven-defying sword glow had swept across the sky, leaving a giant crack over 2,000 zhang long in the rift. In addition to it, in just less than a breath's time, more than 80 of the same cracks had appeared and intertwined with one another like dragons coiling around one another. Following it, the cultivators felt their scalp turning numb. An ancient, dilapidated city, an eerie altar stained with the blood of immortals, a golden sacred sword with skeletons attached to it, and a few hundred other enormous objects fell from the crack. The ground began to shake vigorously as if it had just received a great blow. Countless bottomless ravines were formed on the ground. Streams of shocking saber intents and magnificent sword intents appeared between the heavens and earth like the blossoming of thousands of flowers, resulting in a murderous aura. At this moment, this place, which was regarded as a peerless land of treasures by all the cultivators, underwent a tremendous change and entered an ancient state of chaos. Even though not a single cultivator had fallen, everyone could clearly sense the terrifying danger that was lurking in the air. The same thought crossed the cultivators' minds too. This was only the beginning. It wouldn't be long before the real storm arrived. Let's go, let's leave this place. The cultivators who had experienced the danger of the 7 mountains did not hesitate. They let out roars and charged into the distance. The whole world was dyed red all of a sudden. Invisible murderous auras blossomed on the cultivators like eerie flowers, shattering their flesh into pieces. A series of cries of agony swept across the sky. Even in the midst of the chaos, the cries were quite piercing. The cultivators were nowhere to be seen. All that was left was a pool of blood on the ground. The strong scent of blood served as a trigger for everything. Above the ancient cities and eerie altars, countless pairs of white eyes sprang open in the air. The saber intents and sword intents that were dancing wildly in the air turned into ferocious phantoms over 30 zhang tall, roaring into the sky. The sky shuddered while the ground sank. Terrifying murderous auras soared into the sky from the mountains, forests, and rivers. In particular, on the biggest mountain where Qin Nan and his crew were, a ferocious blood-red eye appeared in every dark cave. Chapter 1629. Relentless Pursuit. Crap. We have to leave this place at once. Fellow cultivators, let's work together. The cultivators collected their thoughts and uttered roars. They immediately performed hand seals without hesitation. In the blink of an eye, the entire land fell into an unprecedented turbulence. Under those pairs of strange white eyes, countless rays of divine light were shuttling through the terrifying killing intent at an astonishing speed, wanting to fly out of this place. A peak heaven god realm expert failed to dodge in time. A ferocious spirit grabbed his head and crushed him into a mist of blood. When the 19 cultivators entered a forest, before they could react, they were already beheaded and turned into ice-cold corpses. 9 peak heaven gods with formidable backgrounds were trying to set up an ancient formation to leave the place, yet a bloody claw reached out from the ground and grabbed them. Similar incidents were happening all over the place. Every cultivator that was trying to leave the place could clearly hear the cries of agony echoing across the place like bamboo shoots after a rain. Even Guzhini, Long Chan, and the rest of the cultivators could not help but inhale deeply. They did not expect Qin Nan to be telling the truth. The peerless land of treasure was actually a peerless land of danger. Sword from the East, Ultimate Dipper. Guzhini immediately executed a powerful move to draw a sword from the heavens and earth when he sensed a great danger. I am Bodhi. Long Chan raised his palm and turned into a Bodhi tree over 100 zhang tall. It emitted a Bodhi glow and took root in the ground to defend itself from the danger. The 2 mysterious cultivators in white robes turned into silver giants to resist the murderous auras. As for Qin Nan, he immediately executed the unstoppable step to weave through the ferocious spirits since the crowd was no longer attacking him. At the same time, his eyes scanned the city and other things above him. There was still a 10% chance of survival. They must be hiding somewhere. Time gradually passed. A few moments later, the place was filled with corpses. The eyes of the cultivators gradually flickered with despair. They had tried their best to avoid 2 or 3 attacks, but in the end they encountered a 4th. Following that, there might be a 5th or even a 10th. How could they survive in such a terrifying place? Dong, dong, dong. At that instant, 3 deep chimes of the bell echoed in the danger ground. Among the 3 successions, a magnificent sacred glow soared into the sky and turned into a giant cauldron over 80 zhang tall. In an instant, the many terrifying murderous intents that shrouded the extraordinary inheritance retreated rapidly as if they had met their natural enemy. There's hope. Quick, let's enter the 3 lands of legacy. These 3 places are not affected by the danger zone at all. The cultivators whose faces were filled with despair immediately became spirited upon seeing this. They immediately executed forbidden arts and charged into the barrier. The same was true for Han Tianxiao and the other cultivators who had besieged Qin Nan. To them, the most important thing was to survive. However, Guzhini, Long Chan, and the 2 mysterious cultivators in white robes were still surrounded by the murderous intents. They had yet to enter the 3 lands of legacy. Even if you've triggered the danger zone, you won't be able to take the trunk away. Guzhini unleashed sword intents at a shocking pace, shattering the phantoms into pieces as he advanced toward Qin Nan. Following it, the Bodhi tree that Long Chan had transformed into unleashed countless branches that slashed at Qin Nan like sabers. The 2 mysterious cultivators in white robes were pressing forward too. As peerless geniuses, their determination were incomparable to ordinary people. They would not give up so easily until the very last moment. If you want to fight, I, Qin Nan, am more than willing to do so. However, don't blame me for not reminding you, the danger zone isn't the scariest thing. Qin Nan's figure moved rapidly as he threw out a series of punches. He was not lying to the 4 cultivators. Apart from the 13 demonic hands and a floating eye, there was no other reaction from the 13 black holes. That sort of calmness was not a good thing. There was an extremely high possibility that something extremely frightening was about to reappear in this world. The danger zone isn't the scariest thing? Guzhini, Long Chan, and the others were startled hearing this. If it was before, they definitely wouldn't believe it. However, after this huge change, they didn't dare to make a rash decision. All of a sudden, Qin Nan's attention was attracted by an altar floating in the air. This altar was 39 zhang tall, and had an ancient green color. Its surface was densely covered with countless mottled marks, as well as some intersecting ravines of varying depths. Even though the ravines were not emitting any chi, Qin Nan keenly noticed that it was an ancient teleportation formation. Buzz. At that instant, a series of buzzes could be heard coming from the 13 black holes, followed by strong gusts of wind, as if a giant beast was breathing. Screw it. Qin Nan made up his mind. He flew to the altar without any hesitation and inserted all his god force into it. It did not matter where the teleportation formation led him to. His priority now was to leave this dangerous place. Qin Nan, are you trying to run away? Gu Zhini let out a roar and threw his sword forward. It turned into a blue mountain of swords crashing down at Qin Nan. It did not matter if Qin Nan was telling the truth or not. He would not let Qin Nan go. However, he was still a little too slow. A blinding immortal glow burst out from the altar. Qin Nan's figure was encapsulated by the glow. He disappeared from the danger zone together with the altar. It's a teleportation formation? Gu Zhini, Long Chan, and the others were startled. K-me, why is there a teleportation formation on the altar? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor, who was running for his life toward the 3 extraordinary successions, could not believe his eyes. He couldn't be any more familiar with this fearsome land, but he had never discovered the existence of a teleportation array. Those altars have teleportation formations too. Bald Donkey and the other 2 cultivators, why don't we chase after Qin Nan together? Gu Zhini activated his eye technique and soon discovered 4 altars. Sure. Long Chan and the others nodded. They flew into the altars and disappeared. Damn, why are there 4 of them? Chapter 1630. The Annoying Pester. Chapter 1638. Immortal Ascension. The annoying pester. Half the period it took an incense stick to burn, somewhere on the surface of the ocean. A huge gap suddenly appeared in the air, from which Qin Nan and a bunch of rocks fell from the gap. Still in the Shang-Xingtian's small immortal realm? Qin Nan glanced around and let out a relieved sigh. It would not be a good sign if they were teleported to another small immortal realm. He was startled when his gaze landed on the surface of the ocean. Not only did the rocks not sink after falling into the ocean, they were floating on the surface of the ocean instead. The rocks seemed to be scattered, but upon taking a closer look, he realized they resembled 2 words. Watch out. What's going on here? Qin Nan furrowed his brows. Was someone purposely warning him, or was it just a coincidence? If someone was purposely warning him, who could it be? Having this thought, Qin Nan immediately felt that something was not right. Why would there be a teleportation formation when the land of danger was awakened? Even if there was, it would not be so easy to discover it. Whoosh! A huge wave suddenly rose and swept the rocks into the distance. Qin Nan withdrew his thoughts too. He was more inclined to believe that someone was secretly warning him. However, he had no idea who the person was. He would have to wait until the time came to find out the truth. Let's see what the situation is like. Qin Nan picked up the 10,000 Dao Immortal Badge and inspected it with his divine sense. Apart from the 4 immortal ancient places, 3 more immortal ancient places had been opened, and almost 300 people had successfully ascended as immortals. That being said, among the 300 people, only a peerless genius had succeeded. The rest were peak heaven gods. On top of that, most of the information was related to the 9 Palace Golden Immortal sect. Most of the information was related to cultivators who had bet heavily on the bets and became rich overnight. Some human immortals had also lost all their belongings within an hour. Those who were unaware of the situation would assume that the 9 Heavens Immortal Realm was holding an unprecedented gambling event. I don't have much time left. Qin Nan felt a sense of urgency. There was no way he could go back to the 7 immortal ancient places that had been opened. After all, The other cultivators had already gone in for a long time. If he hurried back now, he wouldn't be able to obtain any inheritances. There were only 8 immortal ancient places left. He was heading towards one right now, so when he came out, how many immortal ancient places would remain? Copper mirror, which immortal ancient place is about to open? Qin Nan immediately transmitted his voice. Let's go to the 9-dragon mystical realm. It will open in 3 days. You must remember one thing, in the 9 dragons mystical realm, unless you can guarantee your immortal ascension, you only have 10 days. A cold voice resounded in Qin Nan's mind. 10 days later, you must leave the 9 dragons' divine realm and head to the next place. She paused for a moment before adding, I've asked someone to prepare the things you need for the battle of the strongest immortal. The battle of the strongest immortal, apart from ascending as an immortal, the participants would also need to acquire some kind of treasure from the immortal ancient places to participate in it. Normally, she wouldn't care about such a small matter. However, she wanted to see if Qin Nan could recreate her past glory. Thanks. Qin Nan brought his fists together. If it weren't for the copper mirror, he would have to spend some time on his own. Meanwhile, Qin Nan raised his head and glanced into the sky as he sensed something. With his powerful eye technique, he saw 4 formidable teleporting forces approaching. Is it Gu Zhini and his crew? They still haven't given up yet? Qin Nan's eyes flickered coldly. I don't have time to waste on you now. I'll have a good fight with you once I ascend as an immortal. He vanished into thin air with a flicker. Around 30 breaths later, another 4 gaps appeared on the surface of the sea. Gu Zhini, Long Chan, and the others appeared from the gaps. Unlike Qin Nan, the rocks that were left behind by the altars sank to the bottom of the ocean without showing any sign of movement. Fellow cultivators, Qin Nan hasn't left for long. Long Chan's figure emitted a Bodhi glow. A book appeared in his hand out of nowhere as he said, I can track him down. Should we continue? The 2 mysterious cultivators in white robes said coldly, How can we just let it go like this? We can't just chase after him like that. Gu Zhini shook his head. His eyes flickered when he saw the 3 cultivators looking at him. Qin Nan's cultivation is too strong. We need to work together to suppress him. It's going to cost us a lot of god force and trick. Why don't we inform the experts of our factions and set up a trap for him? When core disciples of Supreme Taoism factions like them went to other immortal realms to take part in the Immortal Ascension Wars, they would be protected by experts. It was to prevent them from being ambushed by the experts of other factions after they left the immortal ancient places. It was quite common during the Immortal Ascension Wars in the past. Some who had already ascended as immortals would even make their moves secretly. Sounds good. Long Chan and the others exchanged glances with one another. They immediately nodded and transmitted their thoughts. Time gradually passed. 2 hours were gone in the blink of an eye. Qin Nan was planning to find a place to refine the last of the trunk along the way. However, even though he did not see anything along the way, he had a strong feeling that something was wrong. Someone was tailing him from behind. It was very likely that it was Gu Zhini, Long Chan, and the others. These guys are really not going to let me off easily. Qin Nan shook his head when he saw the 3 badges glowing in his summer ring. Since they were so persistent, there was no need for him to go easy on them. Eternal Heaven and Earth Claw. Right at this moment, a thunderous shout exploded from afar. A giant, pitch-black hand with a circumference of over 50 zhang crossed the rift and grabbed at Qin Nan. The rift around Qin Nan began to twist, forming an invisible cage that immobilized him. An immortal? Qin Nan squinted. It was not a human immortal. It was at least an earth immortal. It seemed like Gu Zhini, Long Chan, and the others had summoned the experts of their factions. Qin Nan, I'll give you one last chance. Hand over the trunk within 10 breaths. Otherwise, I'll kill you on the spot. Guzhani, Longchan, and the others soon arrived from the rift. In addition to it, wisps of magnificent immortal glow soared into the sky and shook the surroundings. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.